You're listening to Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast. And I am bold yet sensitive and rugged to boot, tolerant and compassionate with a heart deeper than the oceans. I'm Matt.
Oh my god. What an intro that was. Is that like a quote from King of All Cosmos?
Yes. When I didn't have time to replay all of We Love Katamari for this, but I did start a new file. I played for like an hour or two, and yeah, in the intro sequence at some point, when they're describing the King of All Cosmos, they describe him that way. And much like how that is a lie about the King of All Cosmos, it is also a lie. Well, I guess I'm kind of rugged. I'm very hairy. I've got a rugged beard. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would, you could be described as rugged, but still sensitive, still you're not afraid to let your sensitive side show. The King of All Cosmos, I feel like, does a lot of masking, and I feel like you are authentically you. So, yeah.
The things you don't know about me would shock you.
Well, I'm Seth, and I don't have any sort of bit other than to say that this Katamari is very podcasty.
That's pretty good. I never thought about it. I guess does the Katamari series predate podcasts? It was right around the same time, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that first one is probably like 2004 or 5 or something like that. And I mean, yeah, like the early podcasts I was listening to were kind of like 2006, 2007, like that kind of time frame. So it's probably around the same time, I guess.
Yeah, I think Katamari Damacy was 2004. Considering I had to do all the notes in a rush this morning, I do remember that I wrote down that was 2004. So if anyone knows when the first podcast happened, you can let us know.
That's something I can Google. When was the first podcast? July 2003. The first podcast is widely considered to be an audio broadcast released by Christopher Leedon and Dave Weiner in July 2003. There you go. Huh.
Does it say what it's about? It should have been about video games. That would be the ultimate full circle moment.
I guess it was about technology or something like that. It wasn't about... Okay. It was like MTV. I guess he was a former MTV jockey, and they figured out how to use the RSS to deliver the audio files to users' computers. So I guess it was technically a podcast. Wow,
that's pretty interesting, honestly. I kind of want to read up more on that after this podcast is done.
Yeah.
Anyway. Enough of this. We're talking today about We Love Katamari. If you couldn't already tell, our intro this episode is Bluffing Damacy. This is going to be a fantastic episode or horrible episode, depending on your feelings on me trying to pronounce Japanese names. So Bluffing Damacy was composed by Asuka Sakai, who's also Keita Takahashi's wife, the director of the first 2 Katamari games. And the lyrics were written by Keita Takahashi himself, and the vocals were by KIRINJI. So again, that's Bluffing Damacy from We Love Katamari, and we will be right back.
リフレッシュ振り返りはしない べてゼロにするそんなパワーだけどそれが弱さというもの俺にはすでに必要ないものいらないぜもういらないんだぜこれから変わってゆくのさ俺はリフレッシュリフレッシュなくしたりはしない作り出すのさ新しいことがしたい見たことない聞いたことないチャレンジャーなのさいつもどこまでも進むことない言葉で歌おうララララマラララママ心配なんかしないラララナナナナ不安なんて楽しいよドキドキでハラハラさチャレンジャーなのさいつも退屈は敵だこれから変わってゆくのさ俺はリフレッシュリフレッシュ立ち止まりはしない歩き続ける新しいことがしたい見たことない聞いたことないチャレンジャーでいたいんだチャレンジャーのままチャレンジャーのままチャレンジャーなのさチャレンジャーなのさ
Again, that was Bluffing Damacy from We Love Katamari. You know, sometimes I try and avoid opening up with like the obvious ones. I guess I don't know how much of an obvious one this is because to me, this kind of is We Love Katamari. Like, it's at least my favorite song in all of Katamari, the whole series.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that the wider fan consensus, because I don't think that's the case. So maybe this isn't as obvious as I was worried about.
I would consider Bluffing Damacy to be a bit of a like a head pick, I think. I mean, for people who have played this game and for people who like love this game and whatever and have memories with this game, I think that Bluffing Damacy stands out. It's also my favorite song in any Katamari game, but I think that like most people would associate Lonely Rolling Star with this series more, or there's another song that we're going to cover later that I think is basically We Love Katamari's version of Lonely Rolling Star, which to me is kind of like the, you know, maybe the most representative song of this game, but certainly Bluffing Damacy is the song that I think of when I think of We Love Katamari. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's just the tone of this one is so unique. We're going to get into it later, but Katamari, despite being such a cute, child-friendly series, it has these real dark turns, both in terms of the story and just tonally in general. And when you really dig into, I mean, for one, you have the tone of the song, which is extremely melancholy immediately. Yeah, you don't need to know any Japanese to get a bit of that understanding just innately. But yeah, when you look into the lyrics a bit, it's about basically like an alcoholic talking about how he's going to go cold turkey, and also how he's a challenger and so strong, and he's doing this only because he's that strong. And but then the fact that the song is called Bluffing Damacy, that it lends so much like weight to these things he's saying, or I guess kind of takes away the weight of what he's saying. Yeah, I hadn't looked up the lyrics of the song until a couple years ago when the Switch remaster of this came out, and you and I did a podcast about it. I think I killed Keep Nintendo Weird. That's my claim to fame, is I'm the last guest ever. And we talked thoroughly about this, and yeah, it really messed me up the first time I read the lyrics to this. Like, if I had looked it up as a kid, I wouldn't have thought much about it, but as an adult, I'm like, damn, this really hits now.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both being dorks, I imagine that we have a long history of listening to Japanese music without really knowing what the lyrics are in reference to it all, because we don't speak Japanese. But the cool thing about listening to foreign music is that what I love about that experience is that you can like kind of pick up on the emotion of the song and like what's trying to be conveyed without understanding what they're saying. Like, I listen to a lot of Japanese city pop and stuff, and I couldn't tell you what most of them, are about. And that's kind of part of it. I kind of like that, I don't know, that vague obfuscation that kind of allows you the breathing room to kind of like, I don't know, fill in the blanks for yourself. And the thing though that benefits this song is that, yeah, when you do read the translated lyrics and you do know what it's about, it just, it does add so much to it, knowing that it is this guy who is like talking about his cycle of relapse into his alcoholism and how he wants to be a better man for his family, and and he's kind of like talking himself up. But then you look at the title Bluffing Damacy and you're like, oh wow, no, like he knows that he's lying to himself. He knows that he's just going to fall back into those same patterns. And yeah, I think that's really that's a very like honest song. Like it's a very like honest way of kind of like addressing your own personal demons in this, game where you're rolling up like campfires and fireflies and stuff into a ball. So yeah. And it's funny. Maybe you'll remember this. You have a pretty good memory when it comes to this stuff. I remember there was an episode of Bit Harmony where we talked about the Shibuya-kei genre, and I like somehow I feel like I remember talking about it in Pizzicato 5 or something at some point in this show's history, but I can't remember the context or when it came up.
I would most feel like that was Billy Hatcher, which is the one episode
maybe
I was not on, but I think I still edited it, and I think that's when it happened.
Okay, I that sounds right. That makes sense, because there's a lot of that in Billy Hatcher also. But for those who didn't listen to that episode or maybe don't know, Shibuya-kei is like kind of a subgenre of Japanese music that was popular in the 90s. It's kind of blending like bossa nova and like lounge and electronic music, and it's called Shibuya-kei because that literally means Shibuya style. It became popular in like retail stores in Shibuya, and a lot of Katamari's music kind of falls into this kind of subgenre, this kind of vibe. This song in particular, I think, does so much with like that kind of cross section of like nostalgic melancholy. It's got a little bit of Animal Crossing like GameCube energy to it, quiet percussion, that like flute lead melody, like all of that is kind of calling that stuff to mind. But there's also something about this song, and I think I've nailed this down to it coming down to the little claps that are in the offbeats of the chorus. It almost like taking that and marrying that with the lyrics, it gives it this almost self-deprecating like oh, good job, like good job, you relapsed again, you know, kind of thing. And I don't know how intentional that is, but that's what it made me feel.
Yeah, no, I picked up on that too. The claps, like on the offbeat, it almost feels like sardonic or something in a way.
Yes.
Also, right around 4 minutes, they start, there's like backing oohs going on. And eventually those oohs like transition into ahs. That also kind of, again, like what you're saying, oh yeah, good job, dummy. Like it felt like that to me, yeah.
Yeah, it's like self-deprecating in a weird way. And in that way, like, I don't know, there's something very, just raw and human about that. Like really holding yourself like up to the mirror and writing this song that is about the lie that you're telling to yourself. And I don't know. It's a really powerful song. It's definitely a standout. And it's a standout when you play the game too. Like when you're playing the game for the first time, it sounds so unlike a lot of other Katamari music, which is typically, I would say, kind of upbeat for the most part, and this isn't. But it's also not like it also does like fit the identity of Katamari perfectly. It's it's a special song.
Yeah, I also saw speculation while doing notes that fans think that this is a song about the King of All Cosmos, or that he is meant to be the person singing.
Sure.
Because it's, for one, he's an alcoholic and he causes a lot of destruction across the series, but also that it's written by Keita Takahashi and that he is like the voice of of the King of All Cosmos, which had never really thought about that before, and that's a fun one, even though in hindsight I'm like, oh yeah, that seems pretty obvious. I guess I'm probably just dumb. I do want to rope back around a bit to you talking about like listening to songs that are in a language you don't understand, and how the mood kind of just like washes over you, which is, yes, I completely agree with that. It's also, to me, it's almost kind of like magical how music is able to do that. Like it can convey a tone without you understanding like anything that's just through the actual music. You don't need to actually understand what's being said. Often when we cover songs on the show that is in Japanese or a language I don't know, I'm very very picky about like what songs I even want to bother looking the lyrics up to for video game music, especially for this podcast. Like it would be very easy to just like, we could just talk about the translated lyrics and present them, right? Like that would be such an easy way to talk about these songs, and so I kind of go out of my way usually to not do that.
Right.
I will say there is one song in particular that I looked the lyrics up for the first time today on the soundtrack. I was full on crying like half an hour ago when I was doing that. And it was not this song. Again, I've looked up the lyrics of this song before too. But yeah, we'll get there in a bit. But this is one that I think like we're going to have to talk about at least some of the translated lyrics for these songs. Because while I fully agree that it's cool when lyrics in a language you don't understand can kind of act as their own instrument instead of lyrics, you know, if you don't understand the language. In this case, I feel it is valuable to know what's being said in at least some of these songs. You know, a lot of it's very straightforward, again, kind of kid-friendly stuff, but then, you get stuff like Bluffing Damacy, where it's like, there's a lot going on here, and it all kind of wraps into one another, and it's worth knowing about this stuff. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, that, we're not always going to talk about translated song lyrics on the show, but in this case, I think we will.
When it's additive, when it actually adds to the experience of the song,
Speaking that, I think for most of the songs, I did actually write down my favorite like passages that are the translated versions of them. For this one, I had written down, "From now on, I'm a new man, refreshed. I won't destroy things. I'll make something new. I want to try something new, something I've never seen or heard of. I'm a challenger, so I'll go anywhere and everywhere." And then it continues, But when I look all around me, I'm all alone, nobody near, such wasted effort worries me, which again, very powerful in general, but yeah, that last line, such wasted effort worries me, that is like
Yeah.
quintessential like Japanese thought to me, because like
Mhm.
there's something way more introspective and kind of I don't know, like self-loathing and narcissistic all at the same time, all wrapped up into just one line that like, yeah, I want to be a better person, but if no one notices that I'm being a better person, it kind of feels like a waste. Like that's
Right.
basically what it's saying. And that's, again, in this like child-friendly game where you're rolling up like polar bears and cars and stuff, it's very crazy that it's in here.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm assuming too that we'll probably get a little bit deeper into some of these thoughts as we get deeper into the episode. But Keita Takahashi, I think, utilizes. It's very interesting, like his kind of school of design thought, where he comes into his games with like a kind of playful, like video game idea first. Like what? How can I make this thing that is meant to be played with kind of exclusively, but then almost in a meditative way, I feel like once things start rolling, no pun intended, he starts to kind of like reach out into these other directions of like, okay, well, like what can we work into here that can kind of, I don't know, speak to the human experience a little bit. I feel like this is present in just about all of his games. And I don't know, that's something that really attracts me to him as a sort of whatever auteur designer or something, is that it starts from a place of just, let me make something that can only be achieved in the art form of video games that is meant to be played with, but let me also kind of take this space and, expound upon it, explore it, and say something human inside of it. So
He seems like a very interesting dude. If I remember correctly, shortly after We Love Katamari, he kind of left the game industry for a bit and was like designing parks, like like play parks for children and stuff. So much of his games just seem designed around like, hey, maybe we should make the world a better place for children specifically, and that would help everyone. Which is a beautiful idea that I don't know that we're ever as a society going to reach. Personally,
not anymore. Yeah.
Did you have any other notes then on Bluffing Damacy?
No, what a hell of a start to this episode.
Yeah, kind of glad we got this one out of the way. Honestly, it should be easier sailing for a little while after this, maybe. When it comes to general housekeeping, then I don't see. It doesn't look like, rather, that you've marked down any new reviews or comments.
No, I checked. I don't believe we got any. And by the way, I should say, if you do leave a 5-star review and like I have missed it, please do let me know so that I can thank you properly, read out your review here on the show properly, because I only have so much power to look at this stuff on my own with my own ingenuity. It is way harder, honestly, than it should be to look this stuff up. So
you if you listener don't put out your own podcast, you would probably be surprised at how like disparate all these elements are and how hard it is to look up like basic things. Like even like we upload to Spotify, which then that shoots it out to all these other places that we can't like easily track. Like, in fact, not really track it at all. But even within Spotify itself, there's genuinely like information that you think would be obvious and so front facing, and I don't see it, at least. I don't know, maybe it's hidden in there somewhere, but it's easier than you would think for stuff like that to like go unnoticed.
Yeah, so again, you can let me know, and either way, we appreciate it. If you like the show, please do consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you listen. It really does help a lot. It's something that is free and quick and easy for you to do, but means a lot to us. It means a lot to the growth of the show. So please do that.
Whenever I see like other video game podcasts that frankly suck have almost as many reviews as 5-star reviews as ours does, I get genuinely like mad about it. So know this, listener, you're making me mad.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. But yeah, no new reviews or anything. I know we normally do our post-mortem on the previous episode. we have to stop and talk about this because, you know, we have joked in the past about the bit harmony effect. This is kind of a thing in our community. Typically we'll do an episode on something and like not long after something happens in relation to that, you know, video game or whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some examples off the top of my head, but now I'm drawing a blank.
Off the top of my head, I remember Donkey Kong Country 2 was added to Nintendo Music, like I think right immediately after we did that episode.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kirby and the Forgotten Land. The thing about those, though, is that we purposely didn't say anything, but they were purposely planned around anniversary dates. Like,
right.
So those didn't necessarily like surprise me. There have been instances where it was like weirdly coincidental. That being said, Cuphead was not planned around anything.
No.
And I certainly was not expecting any kind of announcement whatsoever, let alone 2 new Cuphead games being announced at Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I think we even say like on the last episode of Cuphead, like, yeah, Cuphead's probably done. It feels very complete. I can't imagine they're doing any more Cuphead stuff. And then, yeah, at Summer Game Fest, I mean, one of the highlight announcements of the whole weekend for me was just the simple announcement that, yeah, not only are they making a Cuphead sequel, but they're doing like a 2D action platformer Sega Genesis spin-off of Cuphead, which also like looks great. And yeah, I mean, if there were any doubt in your head that the bit harmony effect is real, let this quell those thoughts.
I'll just say, because I don't remember what it was, but we realized there was something going on with the bit harmony effect very early on in the show, because I remember in the first like 10 episodes, I was trying to manifest some kind of mystical ninja thing happening. As a bit, I kept playing Mystical Ninja 64 music behind us, like abruptly, which I was very proud of. It's probably a good bit still. I'd have to go back and listen, but that never amounted to anything. There is a Mystical Ninja collection or Gonberry Goemon collection in Japan, but that's not getting localized, and also doesn't include Mystical Ninja 64. So what I realize is that it has to be purely coincidental. I tried to control it with the Mystical Ninja thing, and it didn't work. But
we have no power over it. It just is a thing that we manifest. Yeah.
We brought thanks to us, you got 2 new Cuphead things announced on the same day. Now, granted, you're not going to see Cuphead 2 for like 7 years, I would assume, based on how long like just the DLC took. However, it is real, and it is because of us. You can send thanks to our I don't know. I could do a bit. Send money. I don't know. I mean, you can send money to the Patreon.
You can send money. Yeah, do that. That'd be great. We'll take that. But yeah, postmortem on the episode itself, though, I thought it was great. You know, I have heard from multiple people who kind of echoed the sentiment that you had on that episode of like, oh my God, like, yeah, I don't think I've ever actually stopped and listened to Cuphead's music, but my God, it's good. So yeah, I'm happy for that. Yeah.
Like I said on the episode, I think that is like one of the games we've covered that I'm most grateful we did, because I never really would have like evaluated Cuphead music on that level if it weren't for us doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, worth it just for that alone. With that out of the way, then it's time to read more Japanese composer names in the Sean Capri Presents The State of the Nintendo Music Address. So we've had some like weird stuff going on with Nintendo Music in the past few weeks. We have to talk about stuff like besides actual soundtrack drops. But that said, in the past few weeks, we've gotten Pikmin for GameCube, the original Pikmin. Then we got the core Mario Kart World soundtrack, like the core race tracks and menus and stuff. But they initially only added like Super Mario Kart remixes from the free roam mode, and then said more free roam mode music is coming later in later updates. And then in this past week, we got Mario Galaxy and Galaxy 2 free roam tracks from Mario Kart World. So all the Galaxy and Galaxy 2 remixes from Mario Kart World are now on here. We will also talk about the web player, I think, in a minute when we get there, I guess. But first, let's talk about Pikmin real quick. This was composed by Hajime Wakai. What I realize whenever I listen to Pikmin 1 music, this is maybe my most nostalgic game soundtrack of all time. And when I say that, it's really just the Forest of Hope. I think the whole soundtrack is great. I love Pikmin 1 soundtrack in general, but it's really the Forest of Hope. I whenever I hear that song, I'm instantly shot back to being 12 years old and playing that on my GameCube in my childhood bedroom. Like, in a way that like no other game music does for me. I am always shocked how much Pikmin specifically gets me.
Yeah, isn't that funny? I mean, Pikmin is very like, I don't know, there is something weird and nostalgic about, and we've talked about before, like, Pikmin has this great cross-section of like cute and scary and simple and deep. Like it has a bunch of like, I don't know, juxtaposition kind of going on within Pikmin, and I think that makes that whole series really special. But particularly Pikmin 1 and 2, I think they really have a very unique vibe that the other games, even though I think 3 and 4 are even better than 1 and 2, the vibe has never been the same post GameCube, I don't think. But yeah, it was great to get these this soundtrack drop, because it's nice to like have music like this on Nintendo Music. It does feel very unique and different to Pikmin.
I like Pikmin 3 is my personal favorite in the series, but yeah, I fully agree with you that the vibes never really reached Pikmin 1 and 2 again, especially when it comes to the soundtrack. That said, yeah, I don't have too much else to say. I just really like the Pikmin soundtrack, and again, it's always surprising whenever that crops up for one reason or another. Usually Smash Bros, I think, is usually when I always remember, oh yeah, the Pikmin soundtrack is really, really good. Next, we got, again, the core Mario Kart World soundtrack, plus the Super Mario Kart remixes from Mario Kart World, and the web player was added. So real quick, Mario Kart World was once again composed by Atsuko Asahi, Maasa Miyoshi, Takuhiro Honda, and Yutaro Takakuwa. Again, we've talked about the Mario Kart World soundtrack so damn much in the past year. I don't know that it really behooves us to like linger on this too long, but I guess in this case, I do want to talk a little bit about like the core soundtrack and not any of the free roam mode stuff, because when I think of Mario Kart World's OST, it really is the free roam mode that and I think most people think of, which for good reason. It's amazing. The free roam mode is the best stuff, like hands down, in Mario Kart World. But I think I and many other people often just overlook that core Mario Kart World, the racetracks music, right? Because I hadn't listened to Crown City since the game was new. This is one of the best songs in the game, and it's fully new. It's not a free roam mode thing. It is just an amazing jazzy song that plays in one of the normal racetracks.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in here, and you know, it's, I assume we'll talk, you know, like largely about this tactic, but I do think that this was the right move for them to do here, because it's real. I mean, really, for me, the at least one of the purposes of Nintendo Music is to give me the opportunity to like properly take these soundtracks in this way. And had they released the entirety of the Mario Kart World OST, I would not have immediately jumped into listening to some of the sort of separated like course music. And I think that's great. Like I think it's really cool, because yeah, it's all really good. I mean, even though the free roam mode is where the true treasures of Mario Kart World's OST lie, there's still some really good stuff in the base game soundtrack, and yeah, it's been fun to go through some of that stuff.
I didn't realize how good spectating was. I assume that's just the music that plays when you're waiting to get into an online match and you're seeing other people play. I guess I only played online Mario Kart World like 2 times, and I just kind of didn't care anymore, so I guess it's on me. But yeah, I didn't remember how good the spectating mode music was or whatever. We did talk about the web player a bit, though you're going to have to talk about more than me, because I haven't downloaded it yet or logged into it yet or whatever.
Okay. Well, so yeah, I work from home, and I'm in front of my computer like minimum 12 hours a day probably. So it is nice for me to be able to log into a web player. I've been begging them to do this. Now, it is not a separated app. I do kind of wish that it was a piece of software that I could download. I think it would make it run better. But as it is, like it is a pretty one-to-one translation of what you have on the phone, but as a sort of website. It's just, you know, like music.nintendo.com. You bookmark it, you go there, and you can use it running in your web browser and listen to all of the music on there. You can still add things to your playlist. Everything you can do on the phone, you can do in the web player, and it's just nice. Like it's just great to be able to pull this stuff up easily, and it's going to be great for like streamers and content creators who want to use Nintendo music like in their background or something like that, and now they can easily just play that on the Nintendo Music web player. And yeah, it is really, I mean, I'm already somebody who listened to, I mean, I think I boot up Nintendo Music like at least once a day. But I mean, now that the web player is a thing, I'm using it even more. And it's just been fun. Like, for example, with the Mario Kart World drops, like I made a playlist that's just like the best of Mario Kart World, you know? I just kind of let the Mario Kart World OST go on shuffle, and then I'll hear something that I really like and I'll just add it to the playlist. It's a fun way to consume this music. So
yeah, I'm with you that I don't know what the general consensus is on them separating out the Mario Kart World soundtrack like this, but yeah, I think it's genius because yeah, I don't want 600 songs added at once, right. Honestly. Like, yeah, give it to me piecemeal. And also, it kind of makes it more fun to me personally when you're mixing in, like, yeah, Mario Kart World is like peak Nintendo music ever, like peak Nintendo soundtracks ever. So it's kind of fun that, like, I assume we're going to get back into a cadence of like, yeah, here's some like GameCube stuff, here's N64 stuff. Oh, here's some more Mario Kart World stuff. You know, yeah, I like that. I think that's very fun to pepper it throughout like the month or year or whatever. In fact, I hope that the next update is not more Mario Kart World stuff. I want something else for a couple weeks before we get back to more Mario Kart World stuff. I was originally going to do a bit where I then read off the composers again before we start talking about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 Mario Kart World tracks. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, we kind of said everything I wanted to say about it anyway, but I will shout out that yes, we talked about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. We had a whole episode of that a couple months ago, and we did talk about the Mario Kart World remixes of Galaxy music on there. Just want to say, for the record, that Yoshi Star Galaxy from Mario Kart World is insane. That is an insanely good rearrangement that I didn't even remember existed when we did that Mario Galaxy episode.
It is currently the like first track that I added to my Best of Mario Kart World playlist is the Yoshi Star Galaxy rearrangement.
Dude, yeah, the first thing I did, I saw Vanilla Lake was in there right away. That's my all-time favorite Mario Kart World song. And then, yeah, this week, the first thing I went to go look for was the Yoshi Star Galaxy song. And yeah, that got added instantly.
Well, okay, so one thing that is kind of funny, I am not a big fan of the, you know, everybody's darling Gusty Garden Galaxy. I'm actually not a huge fan of the Mario Kart World arrangement of that song. However, there is the Purple Comet rearrangement that is in Mario Kart World includes that motif from Gusty Garden Galaxy, and to me, it's a way better song and arrangement. So that also got added to the playlist. So if you're looking for that kind of vibe, I recommend Purple Comet from Super Mario Galaxy and Mario Kart World. And I also want to shout out the way that they're doing this, I think is really cool because they have Mario Kart World obviously as kind of like an umbrella playlist, but then they have a separated playlist that is just like the master list of all the free roam songs. Then they have playlists for each of the free roam tracks by game. So like there's a playlist for the free roam tracks for Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2 and Super Mario Kart. And I assume that every new update will get its own individual playlist and then added to the master playlist as well. And I think that is just, I mean, it's the perfect way of handling this for me. So huge kudos to them.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is exactly how I handle the Bit Harmony YouTube playlist for every single episode that no one ever uses.
Well, and that is the way you do it, is the perfect way to do it. And I really appreciate that that Nintendo is doing it this way for Mario Kart World. When you talk about the scope of this soundtrack, I can't imagine. I'm just really pleased with the way that they're handling it. It is pretty much exactly what I would have wanted them to do. So,
yeah, it is the perfect level of like granular nerdiness that I appreciate with this kind of thing. The only complaint I have so far with how they've handled Mario Kart World is I wanted like a single track medley version of the Donkey Kong spaceport level. They just have it all separated out. Not a big deal in the slightest. That's just like a very small want that I had personally, but it's not a big deal. Speaking of that, I guess we have to rate this thing, and I think this might be my first A+ ever. There's no complaints to be had. Pikmin is a great soundtrack, and then you add Mario Kart World and some free roam stuff, and we even like how they're parsing out the free roam stuff, and you add the web player. This was Nintendo Music Mecca.
How can it be anything less than an A+? Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints. I'm very, very happy with what's been going on with Nintendo Music lately.
I was about to say, I think Nintendo Music is low-key like one of the best things Nintendo's offering, especially lately. But I really hate saying low-key. I'm just going to say this is one of the best things Nintendo's offering lately, period. I think as a service, this is kind of like what I want their other services to be like NSO and all this stuff. Like the consistency, the quality of everything, the fact that, again, their app and seemingly their web player are actually good and functional in ways that I don't always expect out of Nintendo stuff to be.
Right.
Nintendo Music rules, and especially now that we have Mario Kart World stuff in here, it's awesome. You know, I have periods where I use Nintendo Music less than other times, but especially lately, the past couple of months, I'm using it, not every day like you, but definitely multiple times a week. It is a very, like, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, why aren't you using this unless you really don't like music? But then why are you listening to this podcast, I guess?
It's the perfect thing to grab when I'm like doing the dishes or cooking dinner or something like that. You know, it accompanied me on a long drive yesterday. Like it's just, I love it. My only request now, that is not related to music specifically, I want Nintendo Music on the Switch too. Like I want there to be an app for it on the device itself. I can't believe that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, make that a thing.
I really want that to be a thing. That really is kind of like the final frontier of how they could like really set this over the top is built-in Nintendo Music integration. We'll probably get it in like 3 years after we forgot that we wanted it in the first place. Is my guess. But yeah, that was the first ever double A+ rating on the State of the Nintendo Music address. Where do we go from here? I can't imagine. Nintendo probably doesn't know either. I'm sure we're going to get like some NES game soundtrack next week that we hate. And
I can't wait to complain next time.
Yeah, give me reasons to complain again, Nintendo. Come on. Anyway, we're going to go on a break and then come back and talk about some We Love Katamari in depth. For this break, we're going to play Houston and Everlasting Love. Houston was composed and written, the lyrics written by Hideki Tabeta, and the vocals were by you, in all caps, just
not
you.
Me. Not me, nor you, but you. Y-O-U.
You, dear listener, and then Everlasting Love was composed with lyrics by Akitaka Toyama, and then the vocals were by Alyssa, which that's also very funny. It's just Alyssa. You and Alyssa are great vocalists, is what I can say.
By you, Alyssa.
So again, that's Houston and Everlasting Love, both from We Love Katamari, and we will be right back.
描き続け形による白く咲き満ちた思い出の花過ぎ去りしくたの輝けるむつまじく語らう日々頬なれゆく柔らかな風に優しさ感じ取りにといつまでも続いてゆくこの道は永遠の愛抱きしめて止まるくらい So it's your love このままでいて永遠に白い鳥泳ぐ空青く風になぐ木立の音遠かりし山々のように揺らぐことのない想い丘の上体重見上げて強さ感じ木々に問うどこまでも続いてゆくこの道は永遠の愛まどろんで溶け出すほどに確かめて優しい歌I love you 息が止まるくらい So I miss you 固く抱きしめていつまでもIt's my will 優しい時に So it's your will 頼みを任せ流れゆくI can sing a song for you and me I can make a song for all who feel love I love you I can sing a song for you and me I can make a song for all who feel love I miss you I can sing a song for you and me I can make a song for all who feel love
And that was Houston and Everlasting Love. With Houston, this is probably the song I have the least notes for this episode. I just like it a lot. It's just a very nice, like, tonal and emotional reset after that Bluffing Damacy, especially the conversation specifically that we had.
Sure.
It's just very dreamy and sweet. And we talked about that a little bit with Bluffing Damacy, that, like, Katamari is a series that kind of goes back and forth between, like, dreamy and sweet and then, like, existentially sad, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of specific song notes, the only thing I really have is I really like around 252, they start these like little space laser sounds that like goes into a glockenspiel solo, which is kind of sick as hell.
Hell yeah, it is. I love that. I have that same note. I love like the sort of spacey stuff that is in this song in general. For those who don't know, I live in Houston, Texas, which is like, you know, we not to dox myself or whatever, but like my wife and I live literally right across the street from the the Houston Space Center here. We could, you know, walk to it very easily. We live right by it, and it's all very spacey here because of it. Our McDonald's, it has like a giant astronaut statue, like it's like a statue of an astronaut holding some French fries. And people are always taking pictures in front of it and stuff. So it's all like, you know, space themed here where I live. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I really love that it's spacey here, because then I think like when you go outside your door, you just start floating sometimes.
Sometimes the gravity is just disengaged here in Houston, Texas. But I think they even call it like Space City or something like that. So a lot of the, you know, restaurants, there's like a Space City pizza, you know, whatever. So it's fun that they lean into that with this song, like that kind of spacey element, like even in the intro, you can hear that kind of like crackly radio signal kind of thing. And then, of course, like in the chorus, the sort of robotic voice is singing along and stuff like that. It's really selling this kind of like communicating with life in space kind of vibe, which is very, very fun. But the song itself, too, it just has this like very, you use the word dreamy. Like I have written down like just cloudy, like I feel like we're looking up into the sky at the clouds, and I love like the vocals are so like, just soft and airy, and there's these little like gentle xylophone sounds, and it just has this perfect like seaside bossa nova kind of vibe to it. I love the, whenever you get little bits of English in the lyrics, looking for your dream, is just really good, stuff. I wanted to mention this though, because, while we're covering, We Love Katamari in this episode, I will shout out that, largely the post Keita Takahashi Katamari games have been bad, or not even really bad, but like just boring and kind of nothing, except for the soundtracks. And Katamari Forever does have a fun rearrangement of this song that actually was done by KIRINJI, who did Bluffing Damacy. And if you have not listened to that, I highly recommend it. I don't like it quite as much as this original version, but it's still really good and worth listening to, as is a lot of the Katamari Forever soundtrack. So shout outs to that. Very fun.
Yeah, we have a break later because of a voicemail for a We Love Katamari song that I'd never even heard before today. And my main thing is that, like, damn, it's almost like Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, no matter what a Katamari game is doing, that they at least usually nail the soundtrack. That's at least something, right? Like, even if the games run out of things to say, anything meaningful, the soundtracks are still good. They've had the same nice
sound director. It's been basically the same dude from the beginning, so I think that's why it's been so consistent. Yeah.
I do want to listen to more of the Katamari Forever soundtrack. I heard a little bit of it over the years, but I never sat down and really listened to it. But what I've heard, I thought was neat. That game is like mostly like remixes in general, right? Like it's mostly old levels and stuff. Yeah,
a lot of it is. Yeah, it's and so there are a few songs that get rearranged for Katamari Forever, but it's done like tastefully. It's not I don't know, it doesn't feel like a cop out or something like that. But but yeah, it just, all the things that we talked about with Bluffing, Damacy, that make Katamari like so special are kind of just gone in many of the future installments. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, the only post We Love Katamari game besides the remakes that I've really sat down with was the Vita one, Touch My Katamari.
Yeah, Touch. Yeah.
Which, yeah, it's totally fine, but yeah, there's like really nothing going on. But yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit, I guess. With Everlasting Love, I know this was like your main demand. We basically came into this with like, we both just really wanted Bluffing Damacy, and then you specifically really wanted Everlasting Love.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this would have also been my number 2 must have. This is a really hard one to talk about. For one, this is one of 2 songs that was making me cry before we started recording this podcast. It wasn't the one that was like really getting me, but it got me pretty good. I love this song. I've always loved the song, but as I've gotten older and I started really associating it with like driving and distance and stuff, right? Because for one, I think one of the levels that the song plays on is like the racing level where your Katamari is constantly like moving forward. Normally you are controlling the Katamari, but in this one level, it's always like moving forward very fast. There's like racing going on in the level around you and stuff. And then, you couple this like mid 2000s, like kind of almost, not generic, but kind of like stock Japanese rock music. But again, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Just that, in fact, I mean it in quite a complimentary way. It's very, very evocative of that time period for me. But yeah, as you get older, I viewed the act of driving as kind of nostalgic inherently, especially now living in a different country that I don't need a driver's license. I haven't driven in like 5 years, which is also kind of crazy to me to think about now. But I have like so many layers of nostalgia for this song, and so much of it is just built around driving. Like I remember being like an 18-year-old kid or teenager, whatever, and like driving a few hundred miles to visit my friends in Wisconsin and listening to this song at some point. Like this came up on my playlist or whatever. And yeah, I don't have too many notes about the song itself beyond that, but I don't, something about the drums specifically and how forward facing the drums are that really, really brings to mind, driving in a car and forward momentum and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does have that kind of forward momentum to it. Yeah, and it's also just very like, that guitar is kind of just very like bouncy and cheerful and stuff, and the song is just pretty upbeat in general. It's like impossible to be mad when you're listening to this song. Like, how could you possibly be angry listening to this? We covered this song actually in, I think, the first Oops All Remixes, Rearrangements, and Covers episode. This was one of the ones that I brought to that episode. I think I submitted a very old like acoustic cover of this by a person on YouTube. I think her name is Michelle Heafy, if I remember right. Anyway, that's a very like, even just that cover is very nostalgic to me. But yeah, I mentioned it earlier. This is the song I was referring to when I said that this is kind of this game's Lonely Rolling Star. Like the, Lonely Rolling Star being effectively the sort of, I don't know, similarly J-rock kind of, happy, upbeat, singing about like the overarching theme of the game. That's what Everlasting Love is. Like, it's about love, but it's also about the act of creating something for the people who love it. Like I can sing a song for you and me. I can make a song for all who feel love. Like what a great line that is. And as a creative person and somebody who makes stuff, that really resonates with me. The idea of like, I'm making this for people who love it. Like I'm making this game for the people, or Keita Takahashi was making this game for the people who love it in both a cynical kind of way, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but also in a way of like, this is kind of what keeps me going. And I don't know, I really relate to that. And then, you know, even more, you know, one of my favorite little bits in this song is the sort of tripled harmony thing between the lines of the chorus, the la 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 la's. You know, I love that. I think Katamari is so good at, and this is present throughout the entire series, the music will very often have little like do's or la la's or whatever, and like it's so I think that is like a cheat code to giving you like this carefree feeling. Like what could be more, it's like a step above humming or something, you know, like what could be more carefree than just la 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 la. Like it's just so, it's so perfect. Like I just I love it. Makes me happy.
Yeah, it's just very carefree, even though I wouldn't describe like what's being said in the song as exactly carefree, but the vibe is just very kind of living in the moment. Like hey, don't think too hard about what's going to happen. Let's just keep going. You know, that's kind of what so much of the soundtrack evokes to me. I do want to quickly read off my favorite translated section of the song. The white birds swim in the blue sky. The grove of trees blows in the wind. Like the distant mountains, my feelings won't change. Looking up at the big tree on top of the hill and feeling its strength, I ask the trees if this long road is everlasting love. Specifically, like the distant mountains, my feelings won't change. That was what got me when I was looking at these lyrics earlier. Just something about using mountains as distant mountains specifically as your analogy for your feelings and them being everlasting or whatever. Yeah, that got me real good this morning.
Yeah, that rules. Because I mean, especially from a distance, mountains don't change, you know? And yeah, that is kind of an interesting thought. Of course they do, but when you look at them from far away, you certainly, you know, are just admiring the same beauty that's always been. It's really funny, like going back to places that are mountainous, going back to like Kentucky where my grandmother used to live and stuff, or even like Seattle where my wife is from. That is kind of the one thing that is always kind of fuzzy and ever present in your memory is like the shape of the mountains. And you can go back to these places and like the buildings might have changed. There might be a new restaurant here or there or whatever, but yeah, that mountain range is always kind of the same. So there is something evocative about that.
I think I've mentioned this on the show before. I have no idea what the context was, but I always think on the highway between Findlay, Ohio, where I grew up, and Columbus, there was like a giant dirt pile.
Oh, the mound of dirt.
Yeah, that was my mountain because there's no mountains in that area of Ohio. And I think about that dirt pile often because I have so many memories of picking up my wife at the airport or taking her back to the airport and seeing the damn giant dirt pile.
There's our pile of dirt. That must have come up during like the Stephanie episode or something like that.
That sounds right, since that game is so about like highways and like the Midwest and whatever. That would make sense. But that, you know, I've driven through mountains in like Tennessee and stuff before, so I've experienced real mountains. But I still just always think of the dirt mountain in Ohio, the middle of nowhere, Northwest Ohio.
That rules.
Did you have any other notes on Everlasting Love then?
No, let's get into this thing.
Yeah, let's talk about some We Love Katamari. We Love Katamari is an action puzzle game released for the PlayStation 2 in 2005. I never knew what I would like categorize.
Action puzzle game.
That is what Wikipedia listed as. And like it's not exactly wrong, but it also kind of it shows the problem with like the need to classify everything, right. You know, because like to me, this is just it's like a toy. Like it's a digital toy where you're just like rolling a ball around and sticking things to the ball, right, and just getting bigger. But I can kind of see how you get to the action puzzle game classification if we need to do that. Again, released in 2005 originally for the PlayStation 2. It was re-released in 2023 as We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie for all modern platforms. If you already have found yourself flabbergasted at how good the soundtrack is, hey, the game goes on sale real cheap pretty fairly often. So if you want to check it out, I wouldn't be surprised if it's on sale right now. I don't know. However, this is the direct sequel to 2004's Katamari Damacy, which ended up being a pretty big surprise, I think, sleeper hit for Namco at the time. I remember reading game magazines back in the early and mid-2000s and them talking about this game and being like, this one is never going to come over to the United States. This is never leaving Japan, and it sucks because it's so cool. And then eventually it did leave Japan, and we did... if you're younger and you don't remember, like, we oftentimes didn't get like quirky games like this
very
localized.
often. Yeah.
Like, it was a miracle when something like Mr. Mosquito was right. Localized, And yeah, I remember, like, as someone who was like just coming into my own and figuring myself out in my own tastes, especially when it comes to video games, I remember reading EGM back then and like pining for stuff like Katamari Damacy. And I remember seeing, I don't think I realized it was coming out. I think I just saw it at GameStop with my dad one summer. I'm like, oh my God, it's Katamari Damacy. We have to get this. I have very, very vivid memories of the summer that I got Katamari Damacy and playing it with my friends all summer. So, I thought about doing a mini episode just on Katamari Damacy. Maybe we'll get to that later, but that game is very special and has a equally good soundtrack to We Love Katamari. Anyway, after Katamari Damacy was such a surprise hit, Namco executives approached director Keita Takahashi about doing a direct sequel, to which he was like vehemently against. Yeah. And he only agreed to direct it because he was told that a sequel was going to be made with or without his involvement, which kind of sets like the antagonistic tone of this game right off the bat.
Right.
Which is very, very funny. So yeah, We Love Katamari's story then is kind of this direct confrontation of fan service and like corporations like killing art,
Yeah.
But then you also have the idea of like coming around to that and like making a fan pleasing thing. And it's funny because as much as I love Katamari Damacy, We Love Katamari, despite being so similar, is a better game. Like, there are better ideas all around in We Love Katamari. And it's kind of funny, the idea that, like, Keita Takahashi kind of made it reluctantly. He's like, all right, I guess I'll make a better game for you this time. But I get it, because, like, he didn't want to revisit the concept. But it turns out, I think about this a lot, especially lately with Mina the Hollower. Iteration in game design is incredible. Like, I think that's one of the strengths of the medium is, hey, why don't we revisit this idea, but with our accumulated knowledge of how to make this game and then make it an even better one of these. But again, I kind of understand, especially someone who has like a very artistic side to them would maybe bristle at that idea. But as a player of video games, no, I love the iteration aspect of video games. And then real quick, I do want to mention that on top of like those themes of like corporation and how they affect art and stuff, you also have like story elements in here that are very explicitly about like abuse, both physical and emotional, and like the legacy and scars that fathers leave on their children. And again, this is a game where you're just rolling around with a giant sticky ball, like picking up animals and stuff. So I don't say that to be like, look at these wacky Japanese games. I'm saying that to emphasize, like, there is a lot here under the surface if all you've ever seen Katamari as is this goofball series, right? Like, there is a lot going on in just this game alone.
Yeah, so two things real quick. First of all, We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie is indeed on sale right now. It is on
The
sale.
bit harmony effect.
Oh, it's the bit harmony effect at work again. Yeah, if you are listening to this episode like when it comes out, it's on sale until June 22nd for $7.49
That's
US.
insane. You just go buy it.
Yeah, just go buy that. So quick note there. I also want to point people, if you are interested in learning more about Keita Takahashi and Katamari and really all of his games, there's a really good interview. I had to look this up. I watched it when it came out, but it's with the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. They interviewed him back when 2 a T was coming out last year, and he talks about this moment in his career when Bandai Namco like approached him to make what would become We Love Katamari. And yeah, he was vehemently opposed to the idea of sequels in general, because he's like, you know, the point of me making Katamari in the first place was that it was something new, you know, and yeah, as an artist, what appealed to him about video games as an art form was, oh, I can come in here and do something that hasn't been done before, make something that is new and unique to this medium. And yeah, it was Namco telling him, you know, that they would just do it with or without him. But also he describes it in this interview that I'm referencing as it was a moment of reframing for him, where it caused him to reflect and think about, oh, well, you know, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Like, how lucky am I that people loved Katamari enough to demand a sequel, you know? And so I feel like you can, to your point, I feel like you can feel the conflict like in the tone and story of the game of, this is something that I inherently didn't want to make, but the fans have demanded that I make it, and I kind of gave in to that demand. And now that I'm in here, I'm still having fun, and I'm still making something that is, you know, again, inherently better. And I am kind of like rewriting the rule book for myself, which I really appreciate. And I think it takes, I think that there is a tendency within artists to kind of be up their own ass, frankly, with, you know, for lack of a better word, where they just get like too in their own heads and precious about what they consider to be their like hard and strong values when it comes to their art. And I respect Keita Takahashi for kind of, I don't know, going on that internalized journey with himself and coming back into We Love Katamari and not just doing it for a paycheck or something, because I don't think that would have been enough for him. You know, he had to kind of reframe it and make it something that he wanted to do for himself and the fans. So
also, a lot of the best video game art kind of has that antagonistic energy. I look at,
I agree,
like every Metal Gear Solid game after the first one, basically. You know, like,
right.
Oh, you like Solid Snake? Well, here's Raiden. Oh, you don't like Raiden? Well, here's more Raiden. Is basically like the trajectory of that series. Yeah.
Yes, I want to be challenged by the you know, the video games that I love. I want them to poke and prod and experiment with the things that I find precious. That is because even if I come away from that experience not liking it as much as the original thing, I will always appreciate a creator for at least trying something different. You and I are big defenders of modern Paper Mario games that are not just RPGs. And God forbid we get on a damn Paper Mario tangent here. But I love that they have taken this kind of experimental approach with Paper Mario, and it annoys me so much when everybody is just, all they want is for them to just keep churning out RPGs, and I can't imagine anything more boring. So I really respect that approach.
Yeah, I do too. And yeah, we'll talk more about Keita Takahashi's other works after the next break. And also we're doing a whole mini on 2 a T next week also. So we're not going to stray too far from the Katamari side of things this episode. But it is worth noting that, yeah, we talked about how he at one point retired temporarily to like go design parks for children. He just has such a playful approach to things he wants to make. And I just feel like we don't see much of that in the game industry, especially even 20 years after Katamari originally came out. Like, I feel like we almost never see that besides like Nintendo stuff.
Right.
Not to glaze Nintendo too hard, but despite how corporate Nintendo can also be sometimes, they do still put out stuff like Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, which I feel like maybe wouldn't even exist without something super playful like Katamari, personally.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it is also worth noting, again, if you are not familiar with Katamari beyond like the aesthetic and the soundtrack and whatever, it's a pretty big deal. Like, it's a pretty beloved series, and not just beloved by fans, but also very respected. Katamari is in the MoMA. Like, I have a Uniqlo shirt of Katamari MoMA stuff, and I also would consider it, like, in terms of games that have come out in my lifetime, this is like a top 10, like, most important to me personally, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But also, just what it means for the medium of video games, really. Like, I like that it was a full step back in a time when the industry was starting to lean more into the grays and browns and the third-person shooters. We're fully there now, but 20 years ago, we were just entering that zone, and then we got this step back into something new that felt different. We really don't get anything like Katamari Damacy anymore.
Yeah.
It's very, even in the indie space, which is, very creative and produces so much cool stuff, we still don't really get anything like new like this anymore, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. I mean, indie games are where you kind of have to look for this sort of thing, but there is something to be said about, like, I love it whenever there is a concept or something that can only be told through the medium of video games. Like, and that is every single time, like, Keita Takahashi's, MO, whenever he's coming in to make something new. Like, it's something new and unique and can only be done with games. Because otherwise, he could have just kept being a sculptor or whatever his whole life. you know? So, yeah.
I do want to give a brief story setup of We Love Katamari. So this follows the events of Katamari Damacy, in which the Prince of All Cosmos, are tasked with creating new stars out of Katamaris to replace the stars that your father drunkenly destroyed. People are upset that the sky no longer has stars, and you're tasked with fixing it. And Katamaris are just like these big sticky balls that you roll around, and you pick things up by rolling into them. And then as you pick more things up, the Katamari gets bigger, letting you roll up bigger and bigger things, right? So now in We Love Katamari, in the fiction of We Love Katamari, the act of making Katamaris is kind of like an art form / hobby. I don't know, for people on this planet. Like, people are fans of the concept of Katamari in the world, in the video game of We Love Katamari. And so people now just want, even though the sky has its stars back, people now just want you to keep rolling up Katamaris for various reasons. And usually the King of All Cosmos is very reluctant to do so until someone compliments him, which is a bit that never gets old, despite the fact that it happens literally every level. And then the ultimate goal of We Love Katamari is that a random dog just wants you to roll enough Katamaris up into stars that you can then roll those stars up to get big enough to roll up the sun. I think in the broad strokes, that's everything. Did I miss anything?
That's pretty much the story. Yeah. So it's very, I mean, as you can tell by that description, it's this very sort of like, anti-consumer, sort of thing of just like, we want more, even though we had enough the first time, even though the goal of the first game has been achieved, we want more. And so it has that kind of, I mean, even the title being We Love Katamari is sort of in reference to that. I mean, that's the whole deal with the game, but again, like it is kind of like double-sided. It is kind of like a give and take between the fans and the sort of begrudging creator.
It's so funny that I, as someone that does love Katamari, especially the first two games, I never thought too hard about that We Love Katamari title, but knowing what I do now and being 20 years older, I'm like, damn, the title is even like, it feels like chains. It feels like something that is binding him to create this thing, which is so interesting for a game like this. It's so cool.
Yeah, I think that, like, It's funny because, I think that often the internet can latch on to these sorts of ideas, and it's like the Sakurai thing, like never ask me for anything again. Just the sort of like tired creator who just, cannot let go. Sakurai's like injuring his hand because he played Smash too hard, stuff like that. I think that is kind of like laughed at or whatever, but there is a certain like, I don't know, dedication to craft or whatever, and a certain like you say shackles, like when you're a creator, like I think that is kind of a part of it. You do feel a certain even at the very small scale that you and I operate at, there is that kind of like unspoken thing between a creator and the fans of the thing that they create, being like, you are going to keep making this forever, right? this thing that I love, you are going to just keep making it, right? You're going to keep serving me, right?
Yeah, it's I've thought about that a lot, especially in the past like year or so. I also think a lot about how much I like playing with like the format of the show, even dumb things like doing different things with the Sean Capri opening jingle, right? Sometimes it's just fun to like latch on to, okay, for variety's sake and for just the task of giving myself something new to do, I'm going to make a new one of these on the fly. Same thing with the dumb UFO 50 song I did. I just wanted to see if I could do it, honestly. Even if you are in this environment where this is basically your job, it's at some point, at least for me, as someone that I feel like is pretty creatively driven, I like to try and find little safe places where I can experiment even within the defined structure of the show, right?
Yeah.
And I think we do a good job with that, honestly. I'm pretty proud of that aspect of it. Not to turn We Love Katamari into self-glazing stuff, but I am pretty proud of that.
But it is appropriate though, because like, could we just bang out similar episode after similar episode? Of course we could. Like we could do that, ad nauseum, ad infinitum, for forever if we wanted to. But we like creatively that doesn't do anything for us. So like, of course we have to still, find the fun in this and find ways to keep it creatively interesting and not stagnate with it. That's the important thing, I think. And there is a give and take with the creator and the audience, because the audience would be fine with it if we just kept making Bit Harmony for the rest of our lives or whatever. But I got news for you, we're not going to. And it's the kind of thing where while we're here doing it, we're just going to have the most fun and creatively freeing time that we can making it. And when it stops becoming fun and we stop, when we feel like we've reached the end of our creative rope, then we'll stop. But for now, it's great. And it is just kind of funny that this game kind of says something that goes largely unspoken between the relationship of a creator and the people enjoying the creation.
Yeah. And again, it's really something I didn't take note of any of this when I was like 16.
Absolutely
playing
not.
This game.
Absolutely not. I just want to roll the ball around.
Yeah, it feels great. It feels great. They had some real cool level ideas. Speaking of which, we'll briefly go over the gameplay. But, Katamari games are so simple, we're actually not that far off of our next break, really. So gameplay-wise, with any Katamari game, not just We Love Katamari, again, you're literally just rolling the Katamari around, the big sticky ball, grabbing objects, becoming bigger, and gradually getting bigger and bigger objects. And that really is like the core loop of Katamari as a concept is, hey, we're going to put you in this level. You're like the size of a paperclip at first, but as you go, you are getting bigger and bigger, and eventually you're picking up cats, and then you're picking up tables, and you're picking up fences, and then cars, and blah, blah, blah. That is what is so magical about these games. And then, of course, you have this amazing soundtrack beneath you that lets you like really meditate on your own existence while you're doing this task that doesn't really require any thinking. Like this game puts me in like a weird flow state, despite the fact that like it's not, I don't think it's meant to be like a flow state game in the way that say Neon White is. Like I don't necessarily feel cool that I'm rolling up all this stuff. It's just kind of like it's more like what do you call it? The house flipper game or the power wash simulator, where it's just like, I just want to have fun rolling around these colorful environments and kind of kind of cleaning stuff in this case, though. You're making a giant mess, but you're also kind of getting rid of everything, so it kind of works.
Yeah, the difference between this and something like a power wash simulator is that this at least has that kind of build to it, that order of magnitude, that kind of like, you know, when you try to roll up something that you were not big enough to roll up, you will just kind of bounce off of it and potentially, you know, knock some of the things that you've rolled up off of you. And so there is that bit of like, I don't know, push and pull with the game where, oh, I need to come back here and access a new area after I have, you know, become big enough to get there and roll up the things that have, you know, blocked me off previous. So it does have that. You aren't just literally, you know, kind of like brain dead doing the same thing the whole time. But you're right. I have the same reaction to Katamari, which is, yeah, it is pretty meditative. It gives you space to kind of like, because the core conceit is so simple, it gives you space to like think about all of these things and like react to them emotionally and just kind of like not zone out, but kind of just get lost in your own thoughts, which I think was intentional from a design perspective too. I remember hearing that Keita Takahashi like didn't even want to impose like a time limit on the player initially, because that is kind of like what that's kind of the only like I guess sort of like hard pressure against the player is the fact that typically coming into a level, you have to get your Katamari to a certain size within a certain amount of time. But Keita Takahashi didn't even want to do that initially. Like, he was like, I just want to let players roll stuff around like for as long as they want, you know, and just kind of, yeah, give the player that space to play and think and just kind of like enjoy being in this world. So yeah, I resonate a lot with that, and it's very funny. I will touch on it a little bit later, but after Katamari, when he did Nobi Nobi Boy, that's basically exactly what Nobi Nobi Boy is. So.
It's also funny because you can unlock like endless modes of, I think, like the main core levels in the game. And I will say, you know, I get where he's coming from, but as someone that does like to have like goals in most of my games, even not like super strict hard ones, I still like to have goals. I do appreciate the time limit.
Yeah, it's a good move.
I also appreciate that like there is like a little bit of friction, like you're saying, where you're not always big enough to get the things that even you think you're big enough to pick up. Like, oh, right, it looks like I should be able to pick up this rat over here. No, he's just like a little too big, and then I bounce off of him. You're right that it's not a frictionless experience the way like Power Wash Simulator or whatever is. It's not quite that mindless, but it really does put you, or at least it puts me into a meditative state where I'm really thinking about all the things wrong I did in middle school and whatever, which is kind of, I don't know, it's kind of it's nice. That sounds like I'm complaining about it, but I actually I like it. It lets me like reflect on my own life while rolling up things and listening to good music, basically. We Love Katamari specifically started leaning more into like level specific gimmicks, if we're calling it that, or goals rather. So yeah, most of the levels are still, hey, you get to reach a minimum of this size in this amount of time. But there are a bunch of levels, and I think they're honestly the best levels in the game that give you more specific goals. Like, hey, here you're only rolling up flowers, and then the Katamari, because you can actually see the objects you're rolling up and that are attaching to your Katamari just turns into a giant flower ball, and it looks really nice. Or yeah, I think maybe my favorite one is the rolling up nothing but glow flies in like the nighttime camping level. That one is so like evocative. I love that one. Like, that's the level I think of the most when I think of We Love Katamari.
Absolutely.
I think also the setup for that is someone is camping, but he wants to keep reading at night, but he doesn't have light, so he wants you to get as many glowflies as you can, which is also just super evocative for me. Another really good one, though I think people hate it, is try and get as big as you can without rolling up any bears. I think that one is very damn good.
Yeah, there's that one. There's another one that is like that, but you're supposed to like only roll up cows. But the problem is that there are things that have cow print on them like everywhere. So so it's pretty difficult to like find what is actually a cow. Yeah, stuff like that's always fun. You mentioned the racetrack, kind of level as well. Like, yeah, that is the big differentiator between We Love Katamari and Katamari Damacy. Like these kind of like more specific, kind of in level, like, gimmicks, differences, whatever. And I think it's super fun.
It feels more like a video game than Katamari
Yeah.
Damacy does, which again, I'm not trying to insult Katamari Damacy, but this really feels like, I know that Namco brought in like a bigger team. Like this is like a team of 30 people making this one and it had a bigger budget. It just feels like there were more people who were familiar with like making traditional games, looking at the formula of Katamari and saying, hey, we could inject some traditional gaminess in here. And yeah, I think We Love Katamari is like the perfect balance of goofy silliness and whimsy, but also the goals feel more well structured and thought out, other than just getting as big as you can in a certain amount of time. I think it adds so much character to the game that I think was missing from Katamari Damacy. I do have a couple last notes here. All the main levels also have hidden gifts and cousins to roll up.
Oh, yeah. The cousins are so good.
Dude, the cousins are incredible. The cousins are just, they're the prince's cousins, and once you roll them up and keep them to the end of the level, like you finish the level without them falling off, you unlock them to play. There's no differences between the cousins beyond just the visual of it, and the cousins are honestly, like, besides the soundtrack, probably my favorite part about Katamari Damacy. When I started a new file the other day, I was actually surprised how many cousins I was getting on my first try without even like trying to hunt them down specifically. I forget his name, but the one I unlocked right away was like a big buff one. He's like purple and tall, and he's got
That's one of
real
my favorites.
buff arms. He's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, is his name Macho?
I think it's
Macho.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites because also like if you talk to him, he's like a pacifist. He's all big and buff and stuff, but he's actually like a pacifist. Very good. Yeah, and I think you might unlock him in like the first level or something.
It was either the
early.
first or second level. I had him like right away. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked before about Slip, who is also a favorite, who just looks exactly like the prince, except he's flat. Very, very good. Another one of my favorites, I don't remember their name, but like their head is just a bowl of ramen, which is pretty good. There's one that is a giant mushroom.
The mushroom is my all-time favorite. Yeah, whenever I get him, I'm instantly him, and I'm not switching after that.
Yeah, they're, and I mean, there's so many of them. Like over the life of the series, like each new game introduces several new cousins, and they're always great.
In Once Upon a Katamari, the most recent one, they had like a centaur looking one. That one, I have not played Once Upon a Katamari yet. That one cracks me up just looking at it.
It's one of the craziest things that they've done. That is like a cursed dude. Like it looks like something that wouldn't look out of place in that like painting of like Saturn eating his young or whatever. Like it's that level of cursed.
And then yeah, besides the cousins, you can also find gifts, and these are usually just like hats or other wearables that you can again equip. They don't have any gameplay differences. They just you can put a crown on the mushroom guy and it looks good. That I like that.
Pretty good.
And also just an incentive to like replay levels beyond just like seeing how big you can get, whatever. The last point I have here is that I've seen this a lot in my life, like casual players trying to play the Katamari games, at least with the original controls. The controls can be kind of unwieldy, right? So you have to use both analog sticks to move. There is no direct, like, specific camera control in the old Katamari games. Like, you have to move the left and right stick forward to move around unless you turn on the new controls in the remake versions or whatever. And I love that. Like, I think the intention is you're supposed to think of the left stick as your left hand or arm, and then the right stick as your right arm. But I think people can't wrap their heads around that. You know, I think that does cause problems for people. And then if you want to position the prince somewhere else on the Katamari, you have to hold like up and down or down and up. You know, like the controls are kind of cumbersome for new people, I feel like. And I think that is definitely intentional. Like, that is intentional goofy friction that you're supposed to contend with, because you are literally just this tiny dude rolling a giant sticky ball around, like grabbing the entire world, snatching the world. It's not supposed to be super easy to control, but I've run into a lot of like people in my life that I've tried to introduce to Katamari, and they cannot handle the controls, which, again, to me, I'm like, it's fine. Just play the game. It doesn't matter. The game doesn't want you to have a handle on the controls right away. But in these reroll editions, they did have like simplified controls. I've never looked at them, but from what I've heard, people say they're much more approachable.
Well, they're much more in line with what I think people would expect the game to play like if like when they pick up the controller, which, I mean, yeah, we talk about this all the time, but like I'm a huge proponent of like giving the video game some time for you to learn how to speak its language and get to grips with what the game is asking you to do, versus just immediately turning on the simplified controls that make it play like every other video game. You know, yeah, when you're playing Katamari, you're not controlling the Katamari itself, you're controlling the prince. Like, the prince's head and body even looks like a controller, you know, right. Kind of. So like, he's got like a little antenna coming out of his head, you know, like the way you almost have to picture it is that, you know, you're controlling the prince, and like the thumbsticks are the prince's hands. So when you're wanting to like change and like move the prince around to another side of the Katamari, you like press both sticks the other way, almost like he's kind of like rolling the ball opposite him. When you want to like get speed, you like push it back and kind of charge it, and you know, and push them forward. And I understand that it's complicated to wrap your head around because it is so different from other games of this type. Other like ball rolling games, I mean, but to your point, not only is it not a big deal if you don't wrap your head around it, because of the type of game it is, like, even if you just kind of like mess around, even if you like never come to grips with the controls, you're still going to do like okay, because you're just always picking stuff up. Like, it's the nature of the game. Like, there is stuff to pick up everywhere. If we have not illustrated that enough, like every little thing these levels are absolutely littered with little items that you're just always going to be collecting. You will collect, you know, thousands of items over the course of your run in a stage. So it's really not that big of a deal if you don't know exactly, if you never get like 100% of a handle on the controls. Like, you don't have to take it quite so seriously in this game. So I would encourage people to, you know, I mean, if you find it frustrating and it's like genuinely taking away your enjoyment, sure, turn on the simplified controls. Who really cares? But I would encourage you to at least give it a little bit of time and like try to meet the game where it's at, and like try to, because I find it very gratifying and rewarding to play the game that way. And I'm with you. It's to the point where like I played Once Upon a Katamari when it came out last year, and like I just immediately went for classic controls. Like I have a really hard time actually playing Katamari with the simplified controls now.
Yeah, I don't have any other notes on it. You said everything I wanted to say. I wish gamers would kind of get over their fear of fail states. Like,
right,
you're not supposed to look at anything in Katamari as like a fail state. Again, technically, yes, you can lose a level if you don't roll the Katamari up to a certain size in the right time limit or whatever. But even then, you're just meant to have fun goofing around in the game and seeing all the chaos that's happening around you as you're rolling things up. Like, when you start getting big enough to roll people up into the Katamari and they're running away screaming, like, that's funny every time. I've been playing this game for 20 years. I still laugh when the people start like running away and yelling and they make that like Scooby-Doo like dash noise or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
if you fail, you just get to play more Katamari.
Well, and it is important to note too that there is technically not a real failure state, because the king of all he will still accept your bad Katamari. Like if you don't make the Katamari to his specifications, he'll still accept it. It's not going to be, satisfying and like and taken in as a proper Katamari. Like he'll chastise you for it or whatever, but you can still move on.
His commentary on your inadequate Katamari is very biting to the degree that I can see people not enjoying that very much.
I agree, but I just, it is worth noting that like if you absolutely like can't get it, then you could still move on if you really wanted to. There's no like actual state of failure in the game. So I would just encourage people to, don't take yourself so seriously, dude. This is a silly game where you're rolling a ball and picking up blue whales or whatever. Like just chill out.
And there is one thing I wanted to mention. We talked about how you start off very small in most levels, and then the idea is you keep getting bigger and bigger. Usually the final level of the Katamari games, like you're getting big enough to start like grabbing like chunks of like continents at the end and stuff, right? I just wanted to really emphasize that, like, eventually the game does reach that scale and scope, and I think it's so much fun and it's so gratifying when you're playing the final level of a Katamari game and you're rolling up stuff that big. But I just wanted to make note of it to make sure people understand that, you start off playing levels where you're just rolling up like pennies and stuff, but by the end of the game, you are like a world-destroying force rolling things up in the Katamari. Before we go on the next break, was there anything else you wanted to shout out about We Love Katamari? Again, there's not too much to talk about. It's a very, very simple game, but I didn't know if there's anything we skipped over.
I don't think so. I think we touched on pretty much everything that makes We Love Katamari specifically special. I hope that people feel encouraged to play it. And pick up both Katamari Damacy and We Love Katamari on modern hardware, because the reroll versions are very good versions of both of those games. So and like we mentioned earlier, they both go on sale very regularly and are literally on sale as we're recording this now. So check them out.
Let's go on our next break. We're just gonna do a rare Bit Harmony single song break. This is for Baby Universe. This is composed by Hiroshi Okobo, who also did the lyrics, and the vocals were by Maki Nomiya. And we'll be right back.
街中が恋に落ちるの世界が一つになるのよ Roll the wall 固めれば Shining star Getting on Make the world 街中が恋をしてるの世界が一つになるのよ Roll the wall 固めれば Shining star Getting on Make the world the baby universe The universe
And that was Baby Universe, which is my pick for song title of the episode for sure. So the fact that she even sings like Baby Universe multiple times in the song is very good. Okay, this is my song where I got emotionally destroyed when I read the lyrics shortly before recording this podcast. So I'll start off by saying I've always heavily associated this song specifically with We Love Katamari. It's not like my favorite song. Again, that's Bluffing Damacy. And I don't really ever hear people talking about Baby Universe. You know, I don't know why. I mean, it is like a pretty standard, like the more happy-go-lucky Katamari vibes of the series. But the more I listen to this song, the more I really like it. Like it just in the course of like preparing this episode, it's really risen the ranks for me, near the top of my favorite songs from the whole series, actually. But yeah, it really is. It was the lyrics for me. I guess I'll just read this part real quick. This is the main lyrics part I had written down. Hey, have you noticed? Everything is connected as one. Let's gather up loving. Try jumping into the expanding universe. Look. The nostalgia is disappearing into an unbelievable reality. Caught up in the flow, I just look at the stars. That, like, melted my brain and my soul this afternoon. It's hard for me to even fathom the fact that this is, like, a lyric in a video game song, right? Because it's such a beautiful and powerful message that kind of, again, it kind of wraps all back around to like Keita Takahashi's like goals with making games, and again his focus on like trying to make the world better for children specifically. Because I really think about the line of like the nostalgia is disappearing into an unbelievable reality, and I think about how gamers specifically are so into being force-fed their own nostalgia and memories at every turn. Like, what if we actually could embrace the idea that we don't need nostalgia anymore, right? It's such a bold thing to say in general, like, because everyone likes nostalgia. You know, I like nostalgia too, right? But like, there are so many people that just, they wallow in it, and like they create their own misery from their own good memories that they can't escape out of, right? This song, not just in the lyrics, but also in how it's structured musically, like that slow build-up that just explodes with energy at 35 seconds when the lyrics start popping off. This song is saying like, yeah, just let it go. Like, just let these memories go because they're holding you back. And what if we made the world a better place? And the only way we can do that is to stop thinking of the past and just start doing things, right? Like that really hit me, especially then you couple in the title of like Baby Universe, of like, yeah, the idea of we could create something new if y'all would just grow up and stop talking about Ocarina of Time for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, okay, I have a lot of thoughts about this. There's this notion. I mean, if you look at just even conceptually what Katamari is literally about, it's literally about rolling up the things around you. And most of these games start out in like a bedroom, rolling up these little things around you or whatever, and and taking them all and like shooting them off into the stars to eventually create a new universe. Like, that's literally what these games are about. And so I think thematically that is very appropriate, but I completely agree on the sort of danger of nostalgia. Like, nostalgia is something that is fine to enjoy. We all like being nostalgic, and we all like kind of like looking back at our past fondly or whatever, but there is a sadness to nostalgia, and there is a danger, I think, to nostalgia as well. And I think that a lot of people, especially older gamers or whatever, fall prey to this a lot. There's a song on Porter Robinson's most recent album, it's my favorite song on the album, actually. It's called Is There Really No Happiness? And it's about this. And like the sort of chorus is like, is there really no happiness without this feeling? Like, can we really not be happy if we're not nostalgic? Like, is the only thing that's making us happy these things that tether us to our past? Because when you do that, you lose connection to the future, which is, the youth and stuff. And I think it's really interesting when you talk about what's happening in the film space right now, movies that are sweeping like Backrooms and Obsession, which are made by, like, the director of Backrooms is 20 years old and came from YouTube. Like, I think that the people making Obsession were all like in their early 20s. Like, it's kind of cool to see some of these mediums embrace kind of a younger generation, because, like it or not, that is what the future of it is. You can't hang on to the past, and we can't, keep deifying these things from our past because it completely negates what's happening in the future. And that stuff's done. It happened. So yeah, I think that is all very powerful. I really resonate with that as well. Another thing that's interesting to note about this song, and I don't have a ton of notes on the song itself, but when it came to We Love Katamari, they really were given like a much higher budget for the music. So with Katamari Damacy, they hired a lot of like sort of indie Japanese, like things they could get for very inexpensive, artists that were cheap to get a hold of to make music for the game. And with We Love Katamari, like, Keita Takahashi basically said, like, well, all of the people who kind of like inspired this game's like tone and music and stuff, let's see if we can like hire them for the game. And Baby Universe is sung by, as you said, Maki Nomiya, who is the lead singer of Pizzicato 5. And she basically created that genre that that would go on to be so prevalent in this game. And I think that's really cool. Like, just a neat sort of touch. Like, the game is so thoughtfully designed that the soundtrack was almost given like just as much care as the game itself was, and I really love that. But yeah, I don't have a ton of notes on the actual song itself. I just really love it.
Yeah, like I said, I've always liked this song, always associated it with We Love Katamari, but it wasn't until doing this episode where I really realized just how much like I vibe with it, and then that was even before looking up those lyrics and stuff. But yeah, I was really messed up, honestly. That part of the reason it took me so long to get on the call to record this podcast, because I need to take care of myself real quick. I need to freshen up after having this happen to me. It's also, even just the name Baby Universe, it's got like an End of Evangelion, like Kom Susur Toad,
totally
vibe to it and stuff, right? Even though, again, it's so interesting. Me saying that just now, I'm like, oh yeah, there actually are a lot of similarities between these two songs. Like, even Kom Susur Toad, like, there is like an almost like manic happiness feel to that song, despite the lyrics and everything. Now, again, this song isn't quite that level of nihilism, but
all
it
comes
still
tumbling down.
But this is one of the, again, much like the entirety of Cuphead. I'm so glad we did this episode just for me to have a reason to look up the lyrics to Baby Universe.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
For this last Katamari section of the show, can't really say too much more about We Love Katamari specifically. And I originally thought we could talk about the rest of the Katamari series, but honestly, there's not much reason to. We kind of already talked about a couple of the other ones. You brought up Katamari Forever. We're going to talk about Beautiful Katamari in a little bit on the next break. I mentioned briefly the Touch My Katamari or whatever, which again, I liked it for what it was. You could manipulate the back touch screen of the Vita and squeeze the Katamari. Yeah. Cool idea or whatever, but they didn't really do anything with it beyond just, hey, we made a Katamari game. So given that Keita Takahashi wasn't involved with anything past We Love Katamari, I think we can just ignore that. I am interested, however, in talking a little bit about Keita Takahashi's other post-Katamari works, besides To a T, which again we're covering on its own mini next week. I found some interesting things about these. So the game he worked on after We Love Katamari was Nobi Nobi Boy in 2009. I never played this, but you have, right?
Yeah, it's a really weird and interesting game in that you play as this this character who I think is just named Boy, and the whole gimmick is that you stretch the character out, and the objective of the game, I guess, if there is one, it is more free form than something like Katamari. But you stretch around, you can interact with the bespoke world around you, and there's a bunch of people and things in the world. You can kind of wrap them up around in your weird snake body if you want to and stuff, and just keep stretching out further and further. But one of the cool things about Nobi Nobi Boy is that there is another character in the game who is just, I think, called Girl, and if you play the game connected online, everybody who is playing as they complete kind of objectives in the game and stretch Boy out further and further, it then makes Girl stretch further and further to the point where I think after, however many days, eventually they were able to get Girl to stretch all the way out to the sun, which effectively, completed the game or whatever. That was kind of it was almost like a communal sort of game, a very weird experimental little thing.
I remember on Joystick there was articles about, hey, Nobi Nobi Boy reached the sun, or Nobi Nobi Girl reached the sun, or whatever, which is very cool. Not to always talk about Metal Gear Solid and Kojima this episode, but it reminds me of the idea of in 5 that there could be agreed upon nuclear disarmament that the community was never able to reach, that's kind of what this reminds me of, but much cuter than that.
Yeah, there's something I don't know, it's a cute idea. Again, I think that the game itself was pretty loose, and it's the kind of game that you do just kind of go in there and play around with it. It doesn't have as much structure as even Katamari does, but I do think it's really cute and playful, in that way. And I do think that the idea of stretching out and helping Girl reach the sun is very funny and cute.
That's kind of what I notice about all of Keita Takahashi's games post Katamari is that they really lean further into the Katamari Damacy aspect of we're more of a digital toy. It's more of an interactive, fun thing as opposed to having strict gameplay structure or even really structure at all, kind of. I had never heard of this next game called Glitch in 2011. This was a casual browser-based MMO, and it was built around cooperation and crafting instead of combat or anything like that. Again, I don't think he was the director, but he was a designer on it. And apparently this game was shut down, but also brought back multiple times under different names. And apparently it is ongoing right now under the name Odd Giants. And
That's cool. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there's apparently they're updating it regularly. Like they're supported on Patreon and stuff. Like it's an ongoing thing. Were you aware of this? Because I had never heard of any of this.
Yeah, I had heard of Glitch the game. I've never played it. And I sure didn't know that they were still going on. That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it is going on now after multiple like shutdowns and whatever. So
Yeah.
it seems like they've reached a stable place now, which is nice. But yeah, I just found that just conceptually interesting. Probably the biggest thing he worked on, at least most recognizable, I feel, post Katamari, was Watam from 2019. I don't really know much about this game at all. I'll ask you in a second about your experience with it. But the one thing I found really interesting, I found this quote on the Wikipedia article from Watam, where Takahashi stated his goal for this game was that he's always trying to make a game that makes people notice how our ordinary life is great. And I never had thought about it before, but yeah, I really see that in Katamari. Obviously, I really see that in 2 a T also, but yeah. That's kind of a beautiful sentiment to like go into game design for.
Yeah, the big thing about Watam, like you play as this character who's just known as like the mayor. He's like the mayor of this kind of bespoke, not even really a town, like a floating planet or something. And yeah, the big sort of gameplay gimmick with Watam is that you are connecting people specifically by holding their hands. Mm-hmm. So you go up to people and you like grab their hands, and the characters typically have some kind of unique gameplay implements. So one of them might be like a balloon, and when you grab their hand you can like fly, and there'll be a little mini game where you're like floating with the balloon or whatever. Or there's like a big dude who's like a donut with like a big old tongue like hanging out, and you can you can like feed him and stuff, and it's a fun, cute little game. It definitely has a little bit of that Katamari like energy to it, but I don't know, I don't think it had quite as much like personality that game had. The scale of it, I think, felt a little small maybe. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoyed that game. Another kind of interesting thing about it is that by the end of the game, when you have met and helped and connected all of these characters, all of them have like unique little voices kind of, and you begin to realize that their voices are actually kind of making like a sing-songy note. And the more people you kind of like bring into the community, the song kind of grows and deepens and adds like new layers to it. So it's all about connection and community and like helping people and stuff like that, which is again a bit of a common theme with Takahashi's games.
I always wanted to play Watam. I don't know what was happening around that time in my life. I just never got around to it. But I like the designs and everything of the characters. I like the mayor, his design, just being like as a very simple like green square
cube with like a bowler hat. Yeah.
That's just good. I'm always down for stuff like that. Next, and we're not covering every one of his games, but I just thought I wrote down the ones I thought were like the most interesting. Next was Crankin's Time Travel Adventure from 2022. This was a launch game for the Playdate. If you're not aware what the Playdate is, we're not going to get super into it, but the company Panic produced this handheld gaming device that is only sold through their website. It's very like kind of 4-bit styled games. There is a big crank on the right side of the thing, so a lot of games you control using this crank. There's also a D-pad and face buttons, and if you buy a Playdate, you can subscribe to like their service, and then like every couple weeks they're sending you a new game to your Playdate or whatever, right? So yeah, I've never played on a Playdate. I would like to, but especially now living in Germany, that is very prohibitively expensive to try and get one. They seem very cool and very up my alley. I watched some footage of this, and you can see it in the character design. It definitely kind of screams Keita Takahashi to me, but I didn't know too much about the game. What I saw, they were cranking the crank, forward or backward, and that was like sending the robot either forward in time or backward in time, and you were having to do kind of like puzzle platforming-esque stuff of like, oh, I had to hold on to this bar and stop here while things pass me by before moving the crank more and stuff. It seemed pretty simple, but makes sense for like a launch title for this thing. But yeah, it seemed cute.
Yeah, I've never played it either. I don't have a play date. I really want one. And I would like to get that. But yeah, it's my real like exposure to this with personal experience is that, and maybe this is a bit of a spoiler, but Crankin is actually in To a T.
Oh, okay.
To a T has a bunch of like Keita Takahashi references in it, which is fun. A lot of things you'll kind of pick up if you're a fan of him and his work and stuff. And yeah, it seems fun and cute. And it is one of the games that like, if and when I get a play date, that'll be one of the first things I pick up for it for sure.
Even just watching video of it, it looks very satisfying to just crank that thing and see the robot move while you're cranking the thing. You know, it's pretty
I
cool.
want to crank that thing.
I know,
yeah.
I know.
I want to quickly mention, because you have notated here, I want to quickly mention, there's I don't know if you looked into this or whatever, but there's a game that we haven't covered called Tenya Wanya Teens. Do you know about this game?
No, I saw it, and then I didn't know if you knew anything about it, so I didn't even bother writing it down.
Okay, the reason I know about this game is because it is actually it's playable at Mopop in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
It is not like a downloadable game. You have to play it like physically. And it is a 2-player game, and it is set up like a big kind of like arcade cabinet kind of style thing. But each player has got a giant like board with, you know, like I don't know how many buttons on it. And you play as these teenagers, and you're kind of doing these little like mini game vignettes about like embarrassing teen moments and stuff. Like there's one where you're in high school and you're having like a dream about like being naked in high school or whatever. There's one where you have to like confess your love to your crush or whatever. There's one about like peeing your pants in math class, you know, like just silly little vignettes, kind of like played up like a party game, like dealing with the struggles of being a teenager. And I imagine that at least some of that got him into the headspace of To a T. So yeah, anyway, it's a very neat project, and like he has not ever released it on like a standard video game platform. You can only play it like physically at either Mopop or wherever they take it around.
That is both extremely cool and interesting, but also annoying. Is how I feel about that. It's the same thing with like how Japanese game publishers love doing like, hey, we're putting on a Nier Automata stage play or radio drama that is actually canon and affects the story of things, but you will never ever get to experience it or whatever. There is something cool and fascinating about that, but it is also a little annoying to hear that.
Yeah.
And then, Keita Takahashi's latest game is To a T from 2025. It is out on Switch 2 like tomorrow as of the time of this recording, I think.
Yeah.
We are doing a mini on that next week, so we are not going to talk too much about it here, though. I guess I'll give you an elevator pitch from the like hour or so that I've played of it already. I would say it's kind of like sort of gamifying and showing you what it's like to have like a physical disability from the perspective of a child, and like the positives and negatives that come from that is kind of how I would pitch it to anyone that doesn't know. And by physical disability, I mean literally the character is shaped like a T, like they can't bend their elbows.
Yeah, he's stuck in a T pose, like a classic video game T pose. Yeah.
And so again, we won't get super into it beyond that, but if you're interested in playing it, it is coming out on Switch 2 in a day. It's out on like PlayStation, I assume PC. I don't know, but probably not Xbox. I have no idea.
I think it is Xbox. I think it is on Xbox. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, if you are interested in checking that out before we do our episode on it, you can do that. Also, we've covered the soundtrack very briefly last year, and the soundtrack is insanely good from what little I've heard of it.
It's a great game. I'm really excited to do that mini. It's a great game, and I've been dying to like talk about it in depth. And it made it onto my top 10 last year. I loved it.
Yeah, again, from what little I've played of it, it has like the Keita Takahashi charm to it, and also definitely has like things to say that I don't.
For sure.
I hate the term walking simulator, but in terms of like simplifying it, it's not that far removed from something like that, but in terms of other walking simulators, I feel like it already has more to say about its subject matter than just about any other walking simulator I've ever played. Like I think of something like Mixtape, which again, I like Mixtape.
Right.
It's fine. I didn't really think it was saying anything,
Sure.
So it is kind of frustrating to see something like that get really held up high as the peak of like emotional video games when there's this quiet little introspective to a T game over here that actually has things it wants to say and a message to spread, and people don't pay attention. That's a little bit frustrating to me. With that said, then I don't know, is there anything else you wanted to say about Keita Takahashi's career, either Katamari or post Katamari, before we move on?
No, more to get into, I think, during the To a T mini, which I want to reiterate just before we go on this next break, that the To a T mini will be made freely available, which is not what we usually do. The minis are typically over on Patreon exclusively, and every now and then we'll like pull a mini out of the vault or something. But To a T we're actually putting out publicly for free. Not only so that you guys can kind of see what the mini episodes are like, but also because we're so passionate about this game, this creator, and wanting to do whatever we can to like help promote and market To a T and like just kind of celebrate Keita Takahashi and his career and his work and how meaningful it is to both of us, that like it's important to us to kind of get that game in front of the most eyes as possible. And so I would encourage, if you've made it this far into this episode, please do listen to the To a T mini that'll be coming out next week. So I'm excited.
Yeah, again, even if you listen on like the Spotify feed, the minis don't normally go there. This one is. You will see it next week. I promise. With that said, we are not going on another dedicated We Love Katamari break. We're actually inserting our voicemails a bit early in the episode this time. So we've got a couple of voicemails to listen to.
All right. This first one is from Spriteless.
Hello, all of the Bit Harmony people. It's Spriteless again. I keep calling in.
I keep calling in.
You said I could ask for any music? Well, that's not how I was raised, dude. I was raised not to change the subject and talk about my special interest when other people are talking about what I assumed was their special interest. That is like rule number 1 of masking, and I'm a very well-adjusted person. And anyways, so I am going to suggest... let me get the note. I suggest the song Bless My Stars for the awesome piano beats. And also I need to go look up some nice raps with piano beats. So later, Gator.
Thanks, Spriteless.
I found this voicemail to be intensely fascinating because from my perspective, I'm just a dude like thousands of miles away from presumably where Spriteless is. I guess I don't actually know where Spriteless is, but I'm assuming I'm far away. Yeah, we're not having like, an immediate conversation. We're kind of having like an asynchronous conversation. So to me, it's like, you can share what you want to share. It doesn't need to relate to the subject matter. Again, if you wanted to, that's fine. But I know we talked about it last time, but I want to emphasize, like, as long as it's not something crazy, we can talk about whatever people want to talk about. It doesn't need to be about anything. If you want to stick to the subject matter, that is totally fine. But basically what I'm saying is, especially Spriteless, you have been calling in for a while. You've been listening for a while. I value what you have to say. If you just wanted to call in about something non-subject matter related, it's totally fine. That's all I'm saying. But if you want to keep calling in about the subject matter, that's totally fine too.
Yeah, I co-sign all of that, though I will say that I do resonate with their sentiment. Like I
I do
definitely can
too.
relate.
Yeah.
I know exactly what they mean, and so I get it. And also I think that the song that they have requested, which is from Beautiful Katamari, and would not have been something that would ordinarily be played on this episode, is really good. And it was fun to like dig into that anyway. So
Yeah, exactly. Like, this was a complete value add. I'd never heard this song before. If I did, I don't remember it. And this was awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it after the next break. But before that, we do have one more voicemail.
Yep, we got another voicemail here from Phelan.
Hey Matt, hey Seth, this is Phelan here calling in on the Katamari episode of Bit Harmony. Just wanted to share with y'all, I guess not really a story, but more so just a little factoid about me and how I discovered the Katamari series. Because I didn't know anything about it until one day randomly stumbling across a demo for a game called Rolling with Katamari on my old dumpy slider Pantech Pursuit phone back in the day, back before smartphones were ubiquitous and everywhere. You had these phones with these little keyboards that were like hidden under the screen. You like slid it up. It was very cool, in a sort of nostalgic way, I suppose. But I remember being bored one day and just running onto that store that was just on my phone, the forbidden store my parents told me not to get on. Finding a few demos of games, like Final Fantasy 1 had a port on these old mobile phones, and of course Rolling with Katamari, I was just downloading whatever was free, and I didn't know anything about it, but immediately the game was pretty charming to me. In the demo, it just kind of starts up, you're the prince, there's the Katamari and the king of all cosmos, kind of just explains the game, and you know, the prince is inside a phone. That's kind of the premise of that first level. So it's like he's inside your phone, rolling up all the capacitors and chips and wires. And, you know, it was kind of funny. I remember my brain kind of like exploding when I kind of realized that's what they were going for there. And admittedly, I've not played a ton of Katamari since. I got Katamari Damacy reroll on Switch, and I did play it. I never did end up beating it, but I do really enjoy the series. I remember watching my brother play Katamari for the first time on a PlayStation 2 emulator. We were just kind of bored, hanging out, and I said, hey, try it out. I think you might like it. And kind of watching him, it was funny, like watching him struggle at first with the controls and being like, this is weird, I don't really know about this. And then like 20 minutes later, he's like, oh dude, this is so awesome. He's rolling around this way, rolling that way, laughing at all the crazy things happening on the screen. Just what a special series. So yeah, I just wanted to share that little factoid with my first Katamari game being this long lost mobile game that, now that I think about it, I hope is being preserved somehow. I may look into that after that. But seeing as how I don't have much experience with the series, I don't have really any songs I could ask for y'all to play. And I'm sure the ones I could ask, y'all have already played anyway. So I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing with this show last year and requesting songs off of my backlog. So recently I just beat Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. Fantastic game. I'm a big fan of the Metroid series, and I think Zero Mission's probably one of the best in the series. So if I could request Kraid's Lair, that's my all-time favorite song from that game, probably from the series in general. I think it's, like, if you had to say any one song to describe Metroid, it'd probably be that one. So thanks for the show as always, guys, and yep, until next time.
Thanks, Phelan.
Yeah. I don't know who said thanks, Spriteless. I don't remember. But thank you also, Spriteless, if we didn't say. Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. So for one, when Phelan sent this in, it was over email because it was a long message. He couldn't fit it into the normal voicemail. And he also sent a picture of the phone that he was talking about. When I first opened the email, I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I listened. I'm like, oh, okay, this makes perfect sense now. I don't think I had that exact brand of phone but I definitely had I had one of those phones with a screen that you like slid up and then the keyboard was beneath it. Pre-smartphone phones were kind of crazy, especially what he's talking about with like the stores on them, right? Like I remember kids coming to school showing like poorly emulated like Sega Genesis games running on their flip phones. I'm like, this looks bad.
I mean those style of phones are coming back. We're starting to get flip phones back, and people are kind of like, what's old is new again.
I remember my friend was for his birthday, he really wanted the Razr, like the RAZR or whatever. He was adamant about that he needed that. I'm not like a trend chasing person. I've never been that. And I saw that phone. I think I even said, I think that's dumb, Jimmy. I don't think that's a cool
That's funny. Yeah, no, it's that stuff is coming back. People want the analog. They want the old. Yeah, it's very funny. I didn't have this specific phone, but I definitely am familiar with its game, and I still maintain that the PSP Go is the best PSP, which was very much in this kind of style where you slid the screen up, all of the buttons were underneath it, and you would slide it back down to put it away. It's my favorite version of the PSP.
Dude, I actively dislike the normal PSP. Like in terms of how it feels to hold it and whatnot. I think probably because of like the disk drive, the UMD drive on the back or whatever.
Yeah.
It just feels brittle in my hands. Like I'm going to hold it a little bit too hard and the whole thing's going to break. The PSP Go is amazing. I remember Wilkins got that for Christmas or his birthday or something. He brought it over one time and was showing us like Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker on that thing. I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Is what this PSP thing should have been the whole time. And much like how I love the clamshell of like the DS and the 3DS, the sliding screen thing for the PSP Go, amazing, perfect design,
beautiful. Yeah, that white PSP Go that is a beautiful device. Yeah, I loved it. So shout out to that.
Shout out to old withered technology. Also, I do love, I'm not familiar with the Katamari game he's talking about, but yeah, I love in games when they do that. Like you're seeing the actual hardware, like that you're playing on, much like that Switch 2 Welcome Tour or whatever. Not that I bought it. If it was free with the system, I'm sure I would have had fun with it. But the fact that's what I mean. Like I wanted to have fun with it, but when it was like $10 or whatever, I'm just like, I'm not gonna get the. What are you talking about? This should have just been like a fun, cute thing, man. But that's fun. The idea of rolling around a Katamari inside the phone. Also, didn't like on Wii U or 3DS, like when you do a system transfer, like the Pikmin are taking things from inside your 3DS or whatever. That's cute.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff rules. I like that a lot. Anyway, we will go on our break. We've rattled on long enough about phones and whatever. So again, Spriteless's request was Bless My Stars. This is from Beautiful Katamari. That was composed by Akitaka Toyama. Also wrote the lyrics, and then vocals by Ron Suzuki. And then Phelan's request was Kraid's Lair from Metroid Zero Mission. See, Spriteless, it doesn't have to be on subject at all. It can just be a Metroid Zero Mission.
Just be Metroid.
Kraid's Lair from Metroid Zero Mission specifically. This was originally composed by Hirokazu Tanaka for the NES version, and then Zero Mission was arranged by Kenji Yamamoto and Minako Hamano. So again, Bless My Stars and Kraid's Lair, and we'll be back. Bless My Stars and Kraid's Lair. I don't know why, but I feel weird. I keep saying Bless My Stars. Maybe I'm thinking of like Stars and Garters. Isn't that from like old Captain America comics or something like that?
Yeah.
I feel like an old person saying that, just saying Bless My Stars.
It is a little bit of it is kind of something your grandma would say.
Yeah, it is. So again, I'd never heard this before. I think I briefly played Beautiful Katamari for like a few minutes once. And yeah, this rules. Like this almost, especially in the beginning when it's just straight up D&B, this feels like it should have been in like a Super Monkey Ball menu or something.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's funny. Beautiful Katamari, that's the Xbox 360 one. That was like the first time when like I played a Katamari game and like within, I don't know, an hour, I was like, I think I'm actually good. but like the actual, the soundtrack of it is quite good. And yeah, this is definitely a standout. Like Katamari goes D&B, like, I mean, that's pretty good. You probably didn't expect to hear Wub Wub in a Katamari song. but
also, I also didn't expect to hear like a literal like unsta. I wasn't that was nuts. I was listening to this with headphones before we recorded. I'm like, what is this? This is crazy. Like, again, why isn't this one talked about with the same level? I mean, I know why. It's because the game isn't as beloved, but yeah, in terms of like the actual quality of the song, this is just as good as like anything from like the first two Katamari games. This was genuinely awesome. It's funny, one of my notes was, do I have to play Beautiful Katamari now? But you've already answered that.
No, you don't. Don't worry about it. It's all good. The Once Upon a Katamari, we didn't really touch on it, but that's the most recent one. That one's fun. Like it's it's still, it doesn't have anything to say, but if you can get on like a sale, it's pretty fun for what it is.
I mean, I wanted to play it again specifically for the Centaur, but I just didn't get around to it. It is on sale right now. I assume it's the same sale that We Love Katamari is on. I was actually thinking about picking it up, but then I just decided to get Yoshi in the Mysterious Book, mostly for your sake.
Better choice. Yeah, better choice.
But I think it's like 20 or something like that.
Okay.
The Once Upon. Yeah. So yeah, that if I hadn't just bought Yoshi, I probably would have got that instead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, it's solid. It's good. But I will say too, Spriteless specifically, they called out the piano stuff in this game. One thing that I really like about this song is I like that there's a lot of like juxtaposition of very traditional like elements. Like the piano is pretty straightforward. The vocals are somewhat straightforward, but like they're using both of those things to kind of like illustrate the sort of tones that you would get in electronic music. And of course, like you talk about the percussion, like having like a literal kind of untis moment, in this song is kind of fun. And of course it is still super electronic and D&B, and there's a bunch of like synth stuff in here, but it is kind of fun that they've just worked in some like traditional instrumentation that still kind of is used in the way that electronic music normally would be. And I think that's just fun and cool. It's a cool song.
Yeah, it's just a very cool song. The only other note I had at like 4 minutes, when just like this ooh starts up and it just lasts forever, that was like, I was losing my mind at that part. I think I got shivers when that part happened, because it wouldn't stop. It just kept going. Like, yeah, that vocalization again became like an instrument as opposed to an actual just vocalization. That part was super neat. Very, very cool song.
Yeah, and I guess when it comes to Kraid's Lair, from Metroid Zero Mission, Phelan had mentioned that this is his favorite Metroid song, I think, and it definitely is up there for me. I don't know, it's funny, I've never like stopped and thought about what my favorite Metroid song is, but this is up there.
I have thought about this, especially like I'd say like my teenage years through my like mid-20s. I was very much like, oh yeah, Metroid's the best Nintendo series kind of guy. I do really love the Metroid series, to be clear, but I've kind of fallen out of it a little bit at this point. They don't make enough new ones for me to keep interested at this point,
sure.
I have thought about what my favorite Metroid song is. I mean, from the original Metroid and Zero Mission, I definitely agree. Kraid's Lair is like
Yeah.
hands down my favorite. I think probably my favorite like Metroid song ever. It probably would be either something from the Metroid Prime series, or it would be from Super Metroid, like the I forget what it's called, like Brinstar Red Soil Swampy
Yeah.
area or whatever.
I
Yeah.
think that's my pick too. Yeah, I think that's got to be it for me too.
They even in Metroid Prime 2 they rearranged that song for like the Torvis Bog. It's like a 7-minute version of it, but that I lost my mind at playing Metroid Prime 2 for the first time however many years ago, 22 years ago. But yeah, I do love Kraid's Lair a lot, and I haven't listened maybe ever with headphones to the Zero Mission version of Kraid's Lair, so there's like a lot of stuff that I'd never noticed before today. It does have the very classic Game Boy Advance, like crappy sound chip tinniness to it, but
Yeah, sure.
I think this song does like a really good job of working around that to create something that feels higher quality than the GBA was even capable of producing. Like the backing chorus stuff is genuinely really
Yeah.
cool in this version of the song. It gives it like a Star Trek vibe, like it's got that kind of space opera vibe to it, which makes sense for this game where you're exploring this mostly abandoned and hostile alien planet or whatever. But then also the fact that, again, it's a GBA game, but also the Metroid teams and the Wario teams back then had a lot of crossover. I think that was the same like R&D 4 or whatever that was making these games.
Yeah, Sakamoto's team.
Right. And so the Wario games on Game Boy Advance were very, very well known. We talked about it on the show before. Very well known for like experimenting with vocals on this horrible sound chip, and the fact that they actually made it sound good for this song is actually really impressive and cool. Again, it does still have the Game Boy Advance tinniness, but yeah, I thought it was really cool. I had never listened to this in depth before.
Yeah, it is neat. Like the choral notes in the background of it that you're talking about, they're very like, dark and like brooding, and there's quite a lot of like depth to this song considering the limitations they had to work with. Pretty neat. I love like the movement of the song is very much like a waltz kind of movement. You've got some very sort of like Final Fantasy final boss coded arpeggiated, notes in there, which is always fun. And yeah, it just kind of gives like the whole thing just has this vibe of like, I'm heading into like a hopeless final battle against something that's bigger than me, so yeah, I mean, I guess they kind of nailed it for what this song is kind of going for. Yeah.
Kraid never got the respect he deserves. Kraid's cooler than Ridley. I'm saying it now. We should have had Kraid showing up in Metroid Prime. Did he ever show up in Metroid Prime? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
I know there was concept art from like 3, but he wasn't in the game, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think he ever does. Yeah.
Kraid's cool. I know we got multiple comments about Metroid Dread and that portrayal of Kraid, so I guess we'll save it for there. Before we get to the YouTube comments, real quick, since we just covered voicemails, this is your reminder that if you want to send in a voicemail, you can do so in a couple ways. You can email us at bitharmonypod@gmail.com, or you can dial in a voicemail to 216-230-8540. That number once more is 216-230-8540. If you are dialing that number, you want to keep that under 3 minutes. It'll kick you off otherwise. And if you're emailing us, you can do it through text. You can attach an audio file like Phelan did. We'll get into other ways you can contact us after when we get to the end of the episode, I guess. But with that all said, are you ready to get into the YouTube comment oversharing corner?
I was born ready.
Same, maybe. This is the section of the show where we read off any funny, memorable, interesting, or downright insane comments we've stumbled across while grabbing songs for this episode. It is very funny to me that we've got 2 Kraid's Lair comments on the Katamari episode to get to. Before we get there, though, first we've got YouTube user Smeow commented on Bluffing Damacy 2 years ago. He says, "Shit like this keeps Japan cool." And it's so funny. If you had told me this comment was from like 22 years ago, I would have believed you. But the fact that this is 2 years ago, it's got that like kind of fetishizing like how cool and mysterious Japan is vibe to it. It just sounds insulting, which I know is not the intent, but it's just like, yeah, come on, man. Like, this song is great, but we don't need to do this. It's 2026.
Like, oh yeah, it's this is what keeps Japan cool. Japan is so cool.
It
I
always
go live there.
Yeah, exactly. It always reminds me of that comic someone drew of like someone from Japan wanting to move to America because they're huge SpongeBob fans. Like that's the classic.
Yeah, it's very funny. YouTube user and this is in all caps, Timmy236. So it's in all caps. I assume they want their name yelled. Commented on Houston 12 years ago. Ah, the good old PS2 days. I remember buying this game at Target for $20. I went there to buy GTA San Andreas, but I didn't have $50 for it. I didn't even know it cost $50. So I bought this game instead. Went home and played it all night till sunrise. I love the water level because of this song. I wish I can back to those days.
I love that we can't escape just having like poor grammar at the very end there. Yeah, I just thought this one was fun. I love the idea of going to buy Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, not realizing you don't have enough money and just being like, I'll get this We Love Katamari game instead. I almost don't believe this is real because I'm like, who is the person out there that really wants Grand Theft Auto but settles for Katamari? Like, they can't really be more diametrically opposed. And I say this as someone that played and loved both of these things. I played Katamari and all three of the PS2 Grand Theft Autos. I loved them both, but it's very hard for me to believe that you're that uninformed that you don't know how much Grand Theft Auto costs, and then you buy We Love Katamari instead. It's just weird.
I mean, the first half of this comment reads like a math problem or something. It's like, Timmy went to Target with $20, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas costs $50. What can Timmy buy?
Okay, can I want to name off a regret that I have in my life.
Okay,
that is directly related to this. We had at my grandma's place when I was growing up, we had a whole bucket of change, right? Like, we had just a giant bucket of change, but we also had, like, she went and got rolls, like, to put the quarters in and whatever. And that was like a communal thing, right? So like, hey, if you need like $10, like, grab a roll of quarters or whatever, and do what you need with it or whatever. I really wanted to buy Scribblenauts when that came out for the DS, the original Scribblenauts. I had no cash, and so I grabbed rolls of quarters, and I went to Walmart at like 10 p.m. and went to the electronics section, and I was like, hey, I'd like to buy a Scribblenauts. The guy goes behind the case and he grabs a copy of Scribblenauts, and then he puts it down. He's like, that'll be $35 or whatever, how much it costs. And I just put down rolls of quarters. And he, again, they were rolled. They was accurate. Yeah. It was fine. But he still, I mean, he was like barely older than I was. He was probably like 20, whereas I was like, I don't know, 18 or something. And he looks down at me with his like awful teenage mustache or whatever. And he just goes, are you serious, man?
It is a very funny game to buy with quarters.
I hadn't thought about that memory until this comment, and yeah, I regret it, not because I did anything wrong. It's legal tender and I rolled it up, but I still feel bad about it, even though I didn't technically do anything wrong.
It is just like I don't know. It does kind of illustrate like, hey man, I really need this copy of Scribblenauts.
You don't know what I've done for this Scribblenauts.
Yeah, something about paying in change. Like there's an air of like desperation to it or something. Like there's like just like I had to scrounge this up or something.
Whereas like for me it was just laziness. I didn't feel like going to the bank. I'm like, oh, I'll put money back in the bucket later. But for right now, I just want to grab the change and go buy Scribblenauts.
That rules.
For this next one, we've got YouTube user MMasterDE commented on Baby Universe 11 years ago, and they just say, "Baby, you need bath," which, yeah, I heard that before, and I always, a part of me for a while thought was they were saying, "Baby, you need love," which I also think fits thematically. They even talk about love in the song or whatever, but yeah, "Baby, you need bath" is very good. That's a fantastic YouTube comment.
That's pretty good. Yeah. We have one here from YouTube user TreeDude33, who commented on Bless My Stars 6 years ago. This rules. Took me forever to find this song. Shout out to at Swag Bastion for helping me find it.
Yeah. I have no idea who Swag Bastion is. If there's someone problematic, don't at me. I just thought it was super funny to shout out Swag Bastion.
It's first of all, it's funny that you were like searching for a song from We Love Katamari, or I guess this would be Beautiful Katamari, and like is Swag Bastion like your friend or something like that? And like they were like, "Oh yeah, dude, that's from Beautiful Katamari. It's called Bless My Stars. Go check it out." And then like you were so appreciative, you tagged them in the comments. It's pretty good.
I would like it more if people shouted out stuff like that. If I turned you on to something cool, I would also like to be tagged in things. I think that's fair, but it is ridiculous that his name is Swag Bash.
Go into the comments of Daddy Mulk and tag Matt and thank Matt for turning you on to Daddy Mulk.
It was a truly generational moment when we played that song on Bit Harmony. For this next one, we've got YouTube user Scale Mada Giant commented on Everlasting Love 12 years ago, and in all caps, they just say, "Look out for the tiny bear." Again, referencing the fact that you're in that level, you're trying to avoid picking up any bears, and yes, they do get mean with it. And not only do you have to avoid tiny bears that you can maybe barely even see, but I think even bear-shaped things, like if you pick up a bear statue, it also counts, and then the level's over. But yeah, that is a universal experience. I had to throw it in.
Yeah, that's a pretty, and I even remember like doing that for the first time, and like, the level like ended, and I'm like, oh wait, like what did I do? Like what happened? What, like I rolled up a bear, really? So I think that everybody kind of encounters that in that stage. YouTube user Budkin commented on Everlasting Love 14 years ago. I'm gonna try to get through this. I can make a song for Ol Foofy Love. For Ol Foofy Love.
Yeah, much like the Baby You Need Bath. Like it's just fun what people hear, and then like what your brain, because at least Baby You Need Bath makes sense, but yeah, Ol Foofy Love is just it's just nonsense.
I love like anytime somebody's like typing out something phonetically like that, but exactly like how they arrived there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't have transcribed what I hear or what I've heard this way, but I know exactly what they're saying, and I can agree with it, even if I wouldn't have reached the same conclusion.
Ol Foofy Love got me real good when I first read that.
For this next one, we got YouTube user Mr. Gojira95 commented on Kraid's Lair 4 years ago, and it is an edited comment. They do mark where they edited it, which I appreciate. They just say, "Imagine hearing this in Metroid Dread." And then the edit happens.
Presumably after playing Metroid Dread.
Yes, this definitely came...
I gotta go back.
Yeah. He played Metroid Dread and was like, "I will not stand for this. The YouTube comments must be informed."
I have to amend my old YouTube comment.
And he edits his comment with, "Sad this theme never came back. Kraid fell from grace in dread." That also sounds like a biblical statement.
Grace is capitalized in this comment.
Kraid fell from grace in dread. Going from this tyrant behemoth who had equal footing with Ridley in terms of leadership of the space pirates to becoming a chained up experiment with no army and in complete solitary confinement. this theme should have played during the rooms before you battled Kraid, but instead of sounding awesome like this theme, it should have sounded more vague and depressing. And then they've got like the depressed like emoticon face of a colon and then a slash to make it kind of like a half frown look. Okay. I will say I agree that Kraid's theme should have returned. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And I even agree that the idea of like having a less bombastic version and like a more somber or what, as they say, vague and depressing version, like leading up to Kraid, that could have been cool. I don't disagree with any of that. However, I do really think this is an example of like people who read way too into like lore, or rather not even lore, but not lore, you know, like yes, in the original Metroid, Kraid and Ridley are like equal, and yeah, Kraid in Super Metroid is also like one of the 4 guardians or whatever, but I don't necessarily take it as like people thought Kraid was like in command of like an entire section of the space pirate army or whatever.
No.
Even saying that sentence makes me feel nasty. Like I just feel like I feel like Kraid has always been this big green dude, and he shoots weird spiky things out of his multiple belly buttons at you. Like I understand the idea that like your kid brain might have like read into things and might have said like, oh wow, you know, we get Ridley lore, but we never really had Kraid lore. And maybe there's like an English instruction manual that's saying that Kraid is important to the space pirate army. I'm just gonna say no, that it's not real. Kraid has always been a monster, and there's nothing to really talk about with it. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But they should have reused the theme. I do agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I always read Kraid as like basically a Rancor or something from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like the monster of the pit, you know, that you kind of like bust out when you need to like absolutely kill your enemy or whatever. Like that is the read that I got, and yeah, I get it. I think in the lore that yes, like Kraid is like a sort of like right by Ridley in terms of like their ranking, and but we're talking about like ranking officials in space pirates. Like, how serious is this really?
Yeah, exactly. They're called space pirates. It's dumb as hell already. Also, they already retconned that Samus is not even a bounty hunter in recent Metroid.
Right.
Like, what do you... They clearly were just making things up in the localization phase, and even if they might have been better than what we actually have, that's not the intended canon. So you can pretend if you want, but it's not that big a deal that he doesn't have a space pirate army or whatever it is.
I just... And I also, like, I thought the fight with Kraid in Metroid Dread was so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And like, I just can't imagine like coming away from that fight being like, damn, what a disappointment. Like this should have been depressing.
Where was the mini Kraid? Where were the mini Kraids also shooting at me? Like it's the classic like nostalgia. It's exactly what we were talking about. Like it's the I'm so tied into my own nostalgia, I can't even like look at what's in front of me and realize this is cool, right? Like when I played Metroid Dread for the first time, I was like, oh my god, this Kraid fight is super cool. You know, they'd revealed it in the marketing material. It wasn't like it was already known, but it was still a cool fight. Also, the fact that you could like secretly go into your morph ball form and get into his weird belly button and bomb it or whatever. What a great game. What a cool fight. What a great everything. And then, your takeaway is, man, where was Kraid's number 2? Where were Kraid's underlings? What are you talking about?
Yeah, and I mean, assuming it, Mr. Gojira 95, assuming that 95 is their birth year, like, why do you have such an attachment to Super Metroid? You know? Anyway, whatever. Very funny. And yeah, it did wind up being weirdly appropriate to, to this episode.
Yeah.
But we do have one final comment from YouTube user Gaming826, who commented on Kraid's Lair 9 years ago and simply asks, I like this music, but who the hell disliked this music?
This is such a stupid comment. I even questioned myself when I grabbed this one. I'm like, is this really worth it? But no, the reading of it out loud was worth it. That was great.
Who the hell disliked this music?
I agree, but also that the phrasing of this is crazy. The writing structure of this is just insane. Peak YouTube. This one might even have to go into my personal Hall of Fame from the show. This is just pure stupidity in YouTube comment form. It's great.
Pretty good.
And then that has been your YouTube comment oversharing corner for this episode, and we've already gone over the voicemails. So I guess at this point, I will hand it over to Seth to do our normal Patreon shoutouts.
All right. Yeah. Thanks so much for your support over on Patreon. You can, of course, go over there. It's patreon.com/right now all in media. We are doing a rebrand pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. There'll always be links in the show notes if you want to check out Patreon. That's probably the best way to do it. And yeah, you can support on Patreon for early access to the show and other exclusive perks like the normally Patreon exclusive mini episodes. But yes, Bit Harmony is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you. Thank you to Adam Caparello, Bowza, Quagmire, Dan and Luma, Danielina Hosa, SAZ, John Cummins, Josh Vaughn, Ligerwoods330, and Uncle Randy, our Triforce tier supporters. And thank you to our Golden Banana tier supporters, Big Dogs Only, Bill Tucker, Foolish Fuji, Gamer Jason, Hopple, John32, Liam D, Old Drake, Phelan Ward, Rob Yapel, Shy Guy, thank you Shy Guy, Sean Ashton, and Stephen Keller. We really appreciate y'all. Head on over to Patreon, join their ranks, get a 7-day free trial to the Golden Banana tier, and see what all the fuss is about. We really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as always. It really means a lot. Again, like Seth just said, the next time you will be hearing from us will be earlier than usual, if you're on the public feed at least. Because yeah, we are making the mini episode on 2AT available to everyone, mostly just to support Keita Takahashi. But if you've somehow forgotten, despite the fact that we mention it all the time, that we do Patreon exclusive minis, this is like a nice little bonus preview for you too. 2AT should be hitting the public feeds on the 21st of June. The next full episode is the 2026 mid-year check-in episode that should be hitting feeds on June 28th. If you have any songs you really want played on that episode from 2026, if it's ports, like Switch 2 versions of games from like previous years, I'll accept that too. If you want that played on the episode, we'll fit it in there. It's fine. But yeah, always excited to do our mid-year check-ins and our end-of-year episodes. Those are kind of the highlights of the entire year for me in terms of doing the show. Yeah. So excited to get in there. Also excited that we don't have like any overbearing like Tekken 8 or Mario Kart World stuff to talk about. This has been a much more evenly paced year for music and games than the past couple of years we've done this show. So looking forward to that. With all that out of the way, I believe all we have left are the haikus then.
Yep, just the haikus left. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, no, I'll go first. This is one because of how hassled and harassed I felt putting the show together this morning. I did not put too much effort into my haiku this episode. However, it is still directly related to We Love Katamari.
Okay.
No point in thinking, only about the future. So let's get rolling.
Hell yeah. That's good.
Well, okay, hold that, because this is basically just word for word something that the King of All Cosmos says in We Love Katamari. Oh. And how I had to edit it a tiny bit to make it fit, but that is one of my favorite video game quotes of all time, and it was the fact that it was so close already to a haiku format. I'm like, okay, I'm going to edit this a little to get this in here.
Yeah, we've been known to do that in the past. We've done that a couple times. Sometimes, like, something just fits so perfectly you have to lean into it. Yeah. That's pretty good. Okay, here's mine. Bright star in the sky, made of fireflies and blue whales, goes largely unseen.
Goes largely unseen is a very good ending to that. That also genuinely kind of sounds like translated Japanese lyrics to a Katamari song.
Yeah, I was thinking about, like, I wanted to make it about Katamari, obviously, but also just about Keita Takahashi being like, You know, we'll talk about this on the 2 episode, but like it's really sad, like how like he's talked about how 2 sold so poorly he had to like move back to Japan and stuff. And I'm confident that he's gonna get to keep making games in some capacity, but it's just like the people who make the most meaningful art usually don't get the attention they deserve for it. So I wanted to kind of try to capture that.
Yeah, it is pretty sad and kind of another reason why we're doing the 2T mini and making it free for everyone so that everyone can hear it and get a chance to decide for themselves if it's something they want to check out. But what an episode. I feel like we're all over the place on this episode, and yet we still talked very in depth about the themes and emotions of We Love Katamari. So couldn't ask for a better episode of Bit Harmony, I feel.
The only thing that could make it better is if you had to pronounce some more Japanese composer names before we wrapped up.
You are correct. And I might be able to do that for you right now. We are going to outro with Katamari on the Swing. This was composed by Yu Miyake and Yoshihito Yano, who also did the lyrics, and the vocals are by Shigeru Matsuzaki. Again, join us next week for the 2 mini on the 21st, actually, of June. And then after that, our next full episode is the 2026 mid-year check-in. Get voicemails and requested now. Please, God, please do it soon. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Come on, everybody! Mr. Sunshine. Na 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 na, Katamari on the swing. Na 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 na, Katamari on the swing. 今始まるよ君と僕の未体験スカイ照らしてよお日様は僕らのスポットライトさおスマイル聞こえるよ都会のシャレたスイングビート踊ろう